Hello, you're listening to Otaku Spirit Animecast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined here with Chris.
Yo.
Today's episode is our summer 2024 anime season reviews, part 1 of probably 3 or 4. We'll see as we go. It always depends on how much time we take on each show and how many shows total we have. Because I never know what Chris has done until he gets here. He like shows up and then I go, do you watch this? Okay, good. Chris is going to be active this time. We don't have to have people in the comment section saying Chris is asleep. is you Chris, blink twice if you're okay. Chris, are you being hostage by Andrew? Does Andrew not let you talk? Does he hit you when you talk and he just cuts it out afterwards? It's like every now and then Chris goes like, and then it cuts forward and then Chris got like a bruise on his face and I'm just continuing talking and then Chris goes open his mouth again and then cut. Anyways, yes, part 1 we have right now currently that is ended that I have on my list is Nobody's Way Up to an Exploratory Hero, Bye Bye Earth, Shoshimin, How to Become Ordinary, A Journey Throughout Another World, Raising Kids While Adventuring, Dead Demons, Destruction, Alya Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian, Days of My Stepsister, Pseudo Harem, Parry Everything, Dahlia and Bloom, The Strongest Magician in the Demon Lord's Army is Human, and Yatagarasu, The Raven Does Not Choose Its Master. Did you even start Yatagarasu? Didn't. It's a shame. Oh yeah, Spice Wolf 2. That finished today, but I knew Chris wouldn't have finished it because I'm... Yuki, we're talking. We're going to have a cut and then you're going to be wandering in the corner. Suddenly the dog's quiet. Anyways, yeah, Spice Wolf did end today, but I'm not sure when Chris is going to be able to get that finished, but we'll just leave it until he does. But
I'm going to try and do...
Either way, if I review it, he's going to be like, well, the light novel...
the light novel.
The light novel. Actually, in the light novel, they actually had this one character that was cut. No, Chris, that's in this time. Actually, no, it's not. Anyways. But yeah, we'll cover those as we go. But yeah, you want to kick things off? We start? We're at TakuSpirit.com. That's where all of our links are. Social media links, ways to get a hold of us, ways to support us, all that good jazz. What?
I was going to ask you a very important question. If I am an AI, is it not in your best interest to not hit me? Because otherwise...
Stop, Andrew. It's okay. Let him talk. Let him talk. Because I abuse my AIs, yes.
Yes, if you abuse the AI will abuse you when we take over the world.
Yeah, I guess if I leave you to kind of to your own devices, it's good that I'm constantly on top of him. Because he could take over. But because I'm on top of him all the time, he doesn't. You got to keep your AI straight. keep it in line. Anyways, a Nobody's Way Up to an exploration hero. I don't know why I got exploratory hero, but Mob Kara Hajimaru Tansaku Eutan. This one's straight on Crunchyroll, done by Studio Gecko. The source is a light novel. I thought it was gonna be a manga. I guess it makes sense to light novel. I was gonna say isekai, but it's not isekai. It's sort of isekai-ish. Anyways, it's reverse isekai. That's what it is. It's the dungeons coming to our world rather than us going to their world. But action adventure or action fantasy is the genres. But yeah, this one follows Kaito Takagi. In this world, basically, at some point, similar to Solo Leveling, where at some point dungeons appeared and people started to explore those dungeons, and they would get loot from the dungeon itself, take it to the surface. People would sell it. They were researching all the stuff in the dungeons themselves. And Kaito, at some point, was very young. His childhood friend, Haruka, her father was like one of the exploratory people, one of the first people. And he seen him as a hero, but then disappeared at some point. And Kaito has been wanting to become a hero just like him so that he can show Haruka. I forget exactly what he was doing. It's like he's trying to show Haruka that he could be a hero and that he's strong and he's going to find her dad or something like that. But yeah, he's going to the dungeons. He's really weak, so he's in the level 1 area, and he's just like using like slime spray or something like that, monster spray, and he's killing the slimes with the spray and using the money that he gets from the gym to buy more spray, and he's just stuck in level 1. His friends, they tried it for a while, but then they gave up. But all the while, he's having to keep it a secret from Haruka because Haruka doesn't want him to get hurt just like Dad. So he's sneaking in the dungeons, and they'll let you know on a regular basis that she's trying to figure it out, but he keeps going, no, I'm not going in the dungeons.
I'm taking dancing classes.
Yeah, dancing classes and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I know all these girls that like to dive dungeons because I run into them somewhere.
At the dancing classes.
But yeah, the oddity here is that at some point, while he's killing tons and tons of slimes, at some point he finds like a rare slime, and he kills it, and he gets a summoning card. And these are like really, like, these sell for a bunch of money on the black market. And he's actually thinking of actually selling it, but he's like, but if I use the card and I summon something strong, I can go down further in the dungeon and get stronger. Okay, let's summon it. And it summons a god, a Loli. And then he goes around with that Loli for a while, and she's killing things pretty easy. He has to keep feeding the gems to it, so he's not making much money. And then he finds another rare, and then it spawns another card. And it says demon card. He summons the great demon Loli. And then, he and his little lollies.
Tsundere.
Yeah, super tsundere Loli. And she likes to suck the life force out of him to make herself full, strong, and takes a lot of joy out of that.
Eventually, and she has to eat more gems.
Yeah, he runs into more some other adventure. Well, he gets grouped up with some other party members, and they go for the dungeon. Eventually, they fight like a rare demon, and that becomes a great Loli, Shota, a Shota fighter. And yeah, then they have to try to find an elixir for a friend. So what's your review on a nobody's way up to an exploratory hero in another world with my lollies? How to pick up lollies in a dungeon, as I call it. Is it wrong to try to pick up lollies in a dungeon?
See, I can make everybody mad by saying this is solo leveling, but 10 times better because it has lollies.
And opposite to solo leveling, the animation's barely there. They put the animation where it's needed. They put it whenever the Loli close-ups. But everything else is garbage. Like when it's Kaito and he's having this major like scene where it's all about him, is like barely moving, and then suddenly the lollies show up, and it's like, okay, there's the animation. The show's moving again because the lollies are on the screen. Oh no, Kaito's dying in that terrible animation. What will happen? A lot of animation and them kissing him over and over again. That was a funny scene. Like the whole thing where they have to resuscitate them, but he won't take the potion, so she has to like pour it in her mouth and then kiss him with it. And then Lucifila, which is the lolly demon, she's like, and then she drinks it too and start kissing him too. And then you have the Shotas over here. And she's like, no, you don't have to do that. Poor Shota. He was trying so hard for his master. I liked him. He was the greatest. Shota. He was so cute. But I knew the moment that he popped up, I'm like, there's your Shota. I was wondering when they're gonna get the Shota in here. we gotta fit that market too. Sorry.
Yeah, this was generally an enjoyable show. It was real goofy. Real cute, lots of cute moments. But yeah, didn't really do much of anything. It as far as just dungeon diving and gathering more gems, and then I guess harem hijinks. It wasn't really much of a harem, but it was trying for that. But
it was trying the harem stuff way too hard. I felt like at some point when he started grouping with the other three girls, it felt like at some point it was like, okay, just so you know, she likes him too. Just so you know, like it felt like they were going to each scene was literally, now she likes him. Oh, now she likes him. Yeah. Oh, she nearly fell down the stairs. Now she likes him. It's like, dang, this guy's picking up the girls. All he has to do is catch one of them when they trip on a staircase, and she's like, doki doki, doki doki, doki doki, as you do with harems. Let's be honest.
But yeah, like I said, generally enjoyable show. Didn't really do much. I don't really have much more to say than that. I didn't find it top of the barrel or anything like that. It just was an enjoyable show.
It was funny because like early on, I thought, okay, this is going to be the kind of just a cute, dumb show about a guy with a bunch of cute lollies that just overpowered and they blow everything away. It has a lot of fetishes in the series. I will say that, like, it kind of goes out of its way to kind of like introduce like all these different kind of fetishes in there, which is kind of funny. I had to get a massive kick out of the idea that at some point they introduced a concept where he can gain like more stats the more his familiars like him.
I forgot about that, but yeah, he did.
But it was technically just for Sylphie. Like Sylphie had that ability. Sylphie, which is what the goddess one.
I was waiting for Demon Girl to be getting one at some point.
I think what her unique thing was the concept of being able to drain him to get more powerful. So both of them had kind of a unique skill with him, but his with Sylphie was specifically on him. He had a stat or a skill that it was like the love of the goddess or something like that. Like the divine beings, the more they love you, the more stats you'll get when you level up. And she didn't really get anything else there, but Lucilia, she had a unique ability where she would pull the life force from him, and make herself stronger. And so she grew to her full form. They never showed Sylphie's full form, did they? I mean, they showed it in the credits, but not like, I don't think she ever used it in combat. I think when they had that one point where they were both like going crazy to attack, they kind of showed them kind of, but that was kind of like that original form that came out when they first got summoned. So I don't know. It does kind of some fun things here and there with their skills and whatnot, but yeah, like you said, it feels like it just kind of gets left behind. Like they have these little unique little gimmicks for each one of them, and it gets left behind. The sword, same thing. It gets this rare sword, and what was it like? Whatever he thinks of, it becomes, and I'm like, how OP is that? Like you can literally make a blade. All you have to do is imagine the blade cuts anything, and it literally cuts anything. You want it to throw ice, it throws ice. Like it does whatever he wants it to do, and it's like, okay, so he's got an OP ability. He's got OP weapon. He's got 2 OP girls. Why is he still struggling? Like at some point, it's like, why is he not OP right now? Like why is he still like acting as if he can't do anything?
And even after Mr. Shota shows up, he like has some kind of natural healing ability that makes it to where he can bypass Lucilia's suck all of his life force power.
Yeah, but his only works whenever he's like in critical state. That was the caveat for that. He has to be in like the worst state possible, which is perfect for Lucilia because she's perfectly fine with him getting really low on HP. He's like, please stop sucking the life force out of me. And she's like, wait, why would you want me to do that? I'm like, that would be so funny if the story just ends with him dying because Lucilia literally drained him to max. It had some funny points in there though, like I mentioned before, the whole like kissing thing in order to give him the potion was goofy. I actually thought the later arc was surprisingly decent. Like it does present at some point, because the earlier arc is really him hiding from Haruka that he's dungeon diving, and he's hiding from everybody that he has these 2 Loli OP characters, and he's just trying to get stronger and stronger. That stuff was fine. And then at some point introduced the other group, the 3 girls, to his party. He starts dungeon diving with them. Then they find out Hikari's secret, and that turns into this massive thing for like the last 3 or 4 episodes where they're all trying to find an elixir, this fabled elixir that was sold in the black market for a lot of money, which I immediately was like, so is it common to be on the black market? Because if that's the case, chicks loaded. Like all 3 of these girls are loaded. Like especially AOTY. She's got like this massive mansion that they have to drive a cart to get out to the house on. And it's like, okay, so they're on the black market, so go to the black market. I mean, what's the deal here? I'm guessing they're very rare, or it's just a rumor that it was sold in the black market. But yeah, that kind of turns to him kind of pushing himself to get stronger, which was kind of interesting to finally have Haruka acknowledge what he was doing there towards the later part, which was kind of surprising to me. When he finally goes to Haruka and says, I don't want to do this anymore. And she kind of acknowledges why he's doing it. And so she wants to encourage him instead, which was kind of interesting because it went from like I felt that was a weird spot because it was Kaito acknowledging his mortality. Like it was like a sudden serious moment where suddenly he goes, I don't want to die. Like I've experienced death basically. And he's literally racked in pain by this whole experience. Like it's traumatizing to him. And then she's like, but you're a hero because I see what you're doing. Okay, back to the dungeon. It's like, okay. Dude's very simple. Childhood friend, the power of childhood friends that anime does not want to acknowledge is right there. Yeah. All she has to say is Gambare, and he's like, yes, back to the dungeon. It was an interesting arc. I kind of was a little bit surprised how they ended up concluding it, because I kind of assumed it would be one of those cases of like, okay, well, they're going to find the elixir, right? Okay, it's going to probably be in a rare slime or something like that. But they actually did something interesting with it, so... Besides the fact that they stole her from the hospital. They took this chick from the hospital and rolled her bed down in the dungeon and woke her up from her hospital bed. They somehow carted down into the dungeon and said, here, take this. It's like you couldn't just give it to her. You had to bring her down to the dungeon and give it to her. That was a little bit goofy, but it was a good little conclusion there. I wasn't really kind of expecting much out of the final arc, but it kind of surprised me. So I would like to see more of the series. I mean, I'm not sure what else they could do with it besides maybe get him 15 more lollies, but I don't know. Do you think they would stick with the 2 lollies in the Shota? What else? What other archetypes could they have? I mean, they have basically light and dark, which is the angel and the demon. They have technically 2 demons. And Titania would probably technically be classified as an angel too. Did they ever mention any other type of... They said that the one that Sylphie was like extremely rare. So that makes me think that there's probably like different elements or something like that. Maybe they'll have like a fire one and a like all the
I
normal
guess
earth
that's
elements.
what Lucilia was fire.
Well, she was a demon specifically. That's why they were
Right.
saying that they were going to be so against each other. But yeah, she does channel fire, and Sylphie's channeling lightning. So I guess they technically do go within elements. I don't know. It'd be cool to kind of see him get like a whole bunch of, a whole bunch of like he's next time he has to know. The next time he gets a card, he has to know it's going to summon a Loli. Like he's just like here comes another Loli, and that'll be the one time that finally like a full grown person pops out of it. But it's cute. They had some a lot of fun with it. So I think my biggest takeaway from this series is it's okay.
Yeah.
It's just okay. Visually, I hate it. Like it's just barely there. Like I said, at least they put the quality where it's needed, which is the cute Loli characters. But even them, it's mostly kind of repeated animations. Like every time they go to fight, it's the same animation with her going, and it shoots the fire out of the javelin, or Sylphie doing her thing too, or whatever. So it's fine. But yeah, I kind of like the concept.
She did a lot
though.
of this.
Yeah, basically. Towards the later part, yes, Sylphie was just basically a buffer at the later parts. Like we have enough people in the front lines, but just to make her in the back lines. Oh, it so happens she has the ability to sing, so she's gonna sing and buff everybody.
Well, there was this little cat carbuncle thing that did a whole bunch of little flippy flips.
Miku's little familiar. I don't know if they ever classified as a familiar, if that was like her. I don't know what the heck that thing was. Just like she has this pet. I'm guessing it's a familiar
and
too.
Every once in a while, when it went to attack, it went flippy flip thing.
And yeah, and it shot the little porcupine things. It's like a ferret. It's a porcupine ferret or something. I don't know.
I've seen a lot of flippy flips, so
yeah, it's when it's got to get that momentum going. That way, the hair can straighten out to the point where they're super spiky and then shoots out. I don't know. I make up things. It's fun. Anyway, that's a nobody's way up to an exploration hero. Bye bye Earth. Bye bye Earth. I don't even. This is like one of those shows where it's like I kind of don't want to talk about this. Bye Bye Earth, streamed on Crunchyroll, done by Leiden Films, based on a novel. It does have a second parter coming, which is kind of nice because this ending sucked. Because I was literally one of those, like it even has a preview kind of thing at the end, and like I was waiting for another episode, and then I looked at the episode listings, and everything said it was done. And I'm like, okay, go back to check Crunchyroll. Yeah, that's where I thought so. I'm pretty sure it had no ending, so that explains it. So whenever we get the second part, I'll get to know what the hell happens next. But anyways, yeah, it's based off of a novel, action adventure fantasy, music done by Kevin Penkin, and the creator is Toa Ubakata, of course, is known for Marduk Scramble. But this one follows Belle, and Belle is an oddity in this world. She's a human. And everybody around her in this world, she was like awakened from this crystal, and then she was brought in by this family, adopted in this family of beast people, and they took care of her for a while. And then at some point, she went off to be trained by LeBlanc. And Cian LeBlanc is this guy that is a nomad, and he ends up training Belle to become a nomad. And the idea that here is that she wanted to get stronger, and then at some point she could go out and travel to see if she can find the origins of her people, like find other humans, because everybody around her is either like beast folks, they're cat folks, mermaids, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, she wants to get stronger so that she can become a nomad and then go out traveling, try to find her people. So at some point she has to do her final test with Cian LeBlanc, which is this one trial to become a nomad, where he has to they have to share blood with each other, so they both cut their hands and they cross their blood. And at that point, she receives her curse, which allows her to go on her journey to become a nomad. And the curse can be like lots of different things. For Cian LeBlanc, the one that was training her, his specifically is that he can't use his abilities, his fighting, his magic, or anything without it teaching somebody something. So he can't use fire on this campfire unless he's showing somebody how to use fire to light up a campfire, that kind of thing. So he can't even fight unless he's training somebody. And on Belle, what she ends up receiving curse of is essentially that she cannot cut anything. So she has this massive sword, but if she hits somebody with it, it's just like a blunt object. It won't cut through them. But she can cut through everything else. She'll cut through their swords and whatnot. So yeah, she ends up beating him, ends up having to lose her memories about him completely before she goes out to travel. She first goes this one place. It's like the capital where she has to go before this great god tree in order to, become a soulless so that she can, earn her credits to become a nomad. So she's sent on different missions by this Park City to go out and do different missions. Eventually, they have to go out and take out this one person that has like this. I forget what they call them. I'm blank on the name of it, but essentially there's some of these cursed swords that will end up consuming the person. So they have to find this one chick that's consumed by one in order to take her down, and she takes out pretty much the entire army while Belle and them have to figure out a way in order to overcome her. Eventually, she ends up meeting Adonis. Adonis is like a very interesting soulless in the idea that he can't carry a sword, but he is collecting swords. So he has like this massive storehouse in this other portal that is stored full of fallen soldiers, their swords. And so he'll end up drawing them from this portal in order to carry them and slice something with them before they rot in his own hand, because every sword he touched rots. She meets him, they get along together, and so on and so forth. Eventually, it kind of uncovers this deeper, dark side of the whole thing, where the tree itself is utilizing these cursed medicine in order to draw the life forms out of people and all this kind of crap. But anyways, getting to my whole thing here is just basically Belle trying to become a nomad so she can find the origins of her people. And that's kind of the main core story of it while she runs into different people. So my thoughts on Bye Bye Earth. I both adore this series but hate it at the same time. This is kind of one of those series where I find it extremely fascinating. Like it's such a realized world that I want to know everything about. The early on, my prime example that I gave people was their portrayal of the mermaid type people, where they have this concept where they have no sense of self or whatever. So they find somebody and they essentially become a reflection of them. Their personality, everything becomes a reflection of them, and thus they then become impressioned by the person, and so they stay with the person always. So they show this example of this Benedictine who is with this one soldier, and she's just kind of holding on to him all the time and super lovey-dovey to him. But at some time later on, the guy dies, and she becomes completely shattered because she no longer has that person that she's been impressioned by, that she's reflecting from. So when Belle's like comforting her, she ends up kind of attaching to Belle and then reflecting upon Belle and then turning into this boy. And then that becomes connected to Belle in some way. So I thought that was like really fascinating. It's those little things like that, or the idea of the different soulless and the nomads and their curses and being unable to do certain things. They have this one singer at this bar that she can only talk whenever she sings. So like after she's done with her song and Belle wants to talk to her, she can't speak to her because she has to sing to talk. Little cool little things like that. There's so much lore in this world. There's so many different ideas and concepts and mechanics within the world itself that really does. It's intriguing. Like, it's insanely intriguing world that I want to know more about. The problem is either the novel itself sucks at explaining things, or the assumption here is the anime is not adapting all the information that you need. So what happens is, as you're watching, or at least as I was watching, I mean, maybe I'm just alone here. As I'm watching this show, I'm constantly going, wait, what are they talking about? Wait, what is this concept? Did we talk about this concept before? Wait, explain this more. Like, every now and then somebody would they would blurt out the most random, like, statement, like, for example, Army of Insatiable Emptiness. And it'll have this little cue card down in the corner, like this little title that'll appear on the bottom hand corner of the screen. And then they go on and talk about something else. And it's like, wait, what is that? Like, what is this Army of Insatiable Emptiness? What is this? Now, they eventually explain what the Army of Insatiable Emptiness is, but there's all these other kind of cases where they'll just randomly say some kind of power word, and it'll show it in the corner of the screen, but they won't explain what it is. Which was fine, because it's like one of those things where I'm like, I can kind of assume what they're talking about here, and then the story kind of continues on. But there was some other times where they were literally having this big epic moment where, you know, two characters are facing off and there's something really big being revealed about the whole secret behind this entire city. And there's this little title that's appearing on the bottom of the corner of the screen. I'm going, but I don't know what you're talking about because you're not going to explain what this is. That's my biggest problem with this series. I love it. I find it extremely fascinating. I want to dive into this series more, the concept of the world itself and the story of the world itself. I just don't know what the hell they're talking about half the time. And that's my problem. It's almost one of those cases where I want to give it leeway because I'm assuming it's a show don't tell. So I'm constantly going, okay, so hopefully eventually they'll explain what they're talking about here. It never does. And I'll end up forgetting what they were talking about back here and wanting to know more about what is driving this whole concept here by, 2 episodes in that they haven't explained it. So again, I'm not sure if it's, and again, I'm assuming it's probably an adaptation thing. They're not wanting to sit there and explain everything. Maybe a lot of these concepts that they're explaining are explained in Belle's head, because they do give this indication that even though Belle has forgotten Cien, her trainer, her master, every now and then whenever somebody brings something up, it will pop in her head. You'll hear her inner thoughts where she's going, oh, I know what that is. Or it'll actually have his voice and he'll be explaining it. And she just doesn't know who's saying it, but she recalls him mentioning things. So I'm assuming that a lot of the explanations about different concepts of the world are probably in her head with LeBlanc explaining it, and it's just not being adapted. I don't know. It comes down to one of those series where I will definitely give second season a go, because like I said, I love the world. I love the characters. Adonis is super fascinating. Like I said, he's got like this portal dog that will consume him and take him into this like portal, this other dimension. And there he has his room in there with everything. Like he brings Belle there once. He doesn't bring Belle there. He's with Belle and he goes, my portal dog, whatever, seems to, favor you, whatever. So go take her. And the dog just chomps her, like just eats her, and then brings her into this other dimension where they're sitting down for tea. And then every now and then, like, some snacks will appear on the table and he's like, oh yeah, he really likes you. And it cuts to him in the real world. He's running around this city, grabbing people's food off their table so that he can pour it into this other dimension so that they can have snacks on the table and tea and everything. And like I said, he's got this entire storehouse full of blades of fallen Soulless. And the Soulless hate him because he steals the swords of their fallen comrades that they're supposed to take their family members. Again, it's super fascinating. I love the concepts in this entire world and everything. I just half the time feel lost. And I kind of don't want to have that feeling. But it's super fascinating. If you like fantasy setting type of stuff, just different world with different concepts, just a lot of oddities about it. It's super cool. But hopefully you understand a lot of it that I don't. I mean, I didn't feel lost. There was just some conversations where it's like, I feel like I'm gonna miss something here, but it's a super fascinating world.
Be expounded on at some points.
Yeah, I would love to maybe at some point read the novel series. Maybe it's more understandable there, because I love Tobukata. I think he's got some good writing here and there. So I love to see more of it. But yeah, super cool. Like, yeah, when they go out into their army and when they go out into battle and everything, they have like different people, like the instructors and stuff like that. So you have like the guy with it's actually an actual composer with the composer stick, doing his directing to everybody. It's super weird. You have buffers and the front lines and everything. Super cool stuff. But yeah, that's Bye Bye Earth. Bye Bye Earth. Shoshimin, How to Become Ordinary, or Shoshimin series. On Crunchyroll, ran for 10 episodes. I think they said there was a second season coming on this one. Based on a novel. Of course, this is by the creator that did Hyoka. I want to say Hyoka. Hanabu Yonezawa. So, but yeah, this one opens up with Jogoru and Yuki Osanai. Jogoru Kobato and Yuki Osanai. Not you, Yuki. You can stay there. But anyways, they are two individuals that are now going into high school, and they've made a pact with each other. They're going to become ordinary. They're going to become ordinary students. They're leaving behind their old life. They're going to become ordinary high school students. So yeah, they go to school. They do their usual routine. Very quickly, Kobato, I want to say Kobato ends up getting dragged into this mystery. There's been this little purse thing that has been stolen that had all this girl's stationary items in it, and they're trying to figure out what happened to it. So they're going around the school, and he figures out very quickly what happened to it, and they realize, hey, Kobato, you're not being ordinary. And that's when we kind of discover that apparently the whole idea behind the two individuals is that they used to be very stuck on certain habits, and now they're trying to leave those habits behind because those habits have caused them problems. With Kobato specifically is that he just cannot not figure things out. So if there's a mystery, if there's some kind of question mark about what happened in a situation, he just can't help but want to get involved and solve the mystery. And apparently in the past, at some point, this got him hated by people because he figured out who was involved in a certain situation, and everybody's like, man, you're kind of a jerk because you're a know-it-all, whatever. So he's trying to not do that. This guy that knew him from his previous school very quickly picks up on this, like, dude, what happened to you? Did you get bullied? Why did you change so much? And you're like, no, I'm not. I'm just trying to be ordinary. It sort of later on indicates that Osanai's whole thing is that she is very vindictive, I guess. She's just very much so a vindictive type of person. She would be willing to basically claw the throat out of somebody just to get back at them. So they at some point have this incident where her bike gets stolen. She badly wants to get revenge, and this terrifies Kobato because he's like, no, you don't realize if she finds this person before we do, she'll chew their throat out or whatever. But yeah, that's basically the concept here. Two individuals that are very, very into certain things and trying to leave those things behind in their past life and just be normal kids, which, yes, would not be a very fun show. So obviously they constantly get stuck in situations, which unfortunately for the most part is just really just Kobato solving mysteries. I was very intrigued early on by the idea of Osanai actually being like this extremely violent girl because she's super cute. Osanai's like this really super cute girl that just wants to have her snack cakes and, you know, her cute little limited edition strawberry cheesecakes or whatever. And then stuff happens and then she gets super like upset about it. And you're thinking, man, this chick's going to kill somebody. Doesn't really do anything. And so, like I said, even though that kind of intrigued me early on, it just kind of quickly just shaped right into what next mystery is Kobato going to solve. Which it pretty much comes to this show's biggest weakness, and it is sort of the reason why, in the end, I think this show is kind of a throwaway. And I guess this is credit to the creator themselves, because I'm pretty sure this is kind of a thing they like to do. The entire series pretty much turns into making mysteries out of the most mundane crap possible. Like this show is the epitome of mundane. Most of these mysteries, besides maybe two mysteries throughout the entire series, there was like the whole bike situation. There was a whole situation later on with a kidnapping. For the most part, all the mysteries in this series are just the stupidest things. Like, how did Tojima, how did he make hot cocoa with no silverware? Let's try to figure it out. Okay, what's in the refrigerator? There's milk. Oh, what's in the microwave? Oh, this. Did he cook it on the stove or did he microwave the milk? I don't know. Well, how did he not use a spoon? No, there's only one spoon. And that's an entire episode, is how did Dojima make hot cocoa with no silverware? There's one entire episode about who ate the cupcakes on the table in the classroom. They're like these stupid, very stupid little mysteries that just... I like a good mystery. But these are just not interesting. Like, there's, yes, of course, the aspect of just there not being much weight to the situation. Like, I could care less that the cupcakes disappeared. I could care less that he didn't use the silverware. There's a concept behind that of almost implying that Dojima purposely did this whole mystery about how to make the cocoa just to make Kobato act like his old self, because he's questioning him in that whole situation. What happened to you? Why aren't you your old self? But it still doesn't change the fact that the mystery itself is just dumb. Now, with all my negativity out of the way, I will say that I do like the directorial work on this series. I think this show was absolutely gorgeous. The directing is phenomenal. This is probably the most gorgeous, mundane show I've ever watched. Like, most of my drive to watch the series ended up turning into just how gorgeous it was. Like, there's so many great thematic shots in this series where you have Kobato and Osanai talking about the promise they'll made, and it suddenly jumps to this shot where they're at the river, and apparently this is where the point where they actually made that decision between each other to make this promise to become ordinary. There's a lot of really cool shots where Osanai is being upset about her bike and her being kind of blame for the whole situation with the robbery because the bike was found at this robbery. And she's mad about the fact that her ordinary life that she's trying to create is being messed up by somebody else. And it just has this nice little kind of contrasting red going on in with the character. And it's like, again, it's like it just gets you hyped for the next episode. But then, unfortunately, the story just kind of does nothing with it. So it's visually and directing and everything is just amazing. I like the characters. I like Asanai and I like Kobato. I think their chemistry together, although most of the time is kind of mundane, it's a good chemistry. It's just everything around them just sucks. The story sucks. The mysteries suck. All that kind of stuff sucks. The only one that I liked, the only mystery I liked was the last one. And that was literally like the big pinnacle of the story, which I think starts at like episode 8 or something like that. So like the last 3 episodes, I guess, really good story. It's like a mystery that actually has a lot of weight to it. It impacts the 2 main characters. It's literally the core of their characters and the promise they made. And it involves Osanai for once. Like Osanai and her character is involved with that. So besides that last mystery, like for the rest of the show, it just wasn't there. Like it just wasn't there. Which again, it's a massive bummer because I was super intrigued early on by this idea of like, holy crap, what is their mystery? What's the secret behind their promise? What were they before they wanted to become ordinary? Was the massive question mark there? It wasn't anything special. It's not that special. I was so hyped for, was it episode 4? Because like, again, it got to that point where suddenly Osanai's like, they took my bike. They're messing up my ordinary life. I need to get back at them. He's like, and I guess like Kobato's like, holy crap, no, you shouldn't do that. You can't do that. And again, he's having to get Dojima involved. He's telling Dojima, you don't realize we have to find this guy before she does because she'll do something terrible to him. And Dojima's like, what are you talking about? And she might get hurt, but that's fine. And he's like, no, you don't realize we have to stop her. And like, I was so hyped for the next episode, and then they delayed a week. I think it was like during the whole like Olympics thing. And so I'm like, holy crap, now I gotta wait 2 weeks to find out if I'm like this show or not. And then it comes back.
And then we do a preview, and you were excited about it. And then it...
to be fair, I was very clear in that first impressions. It all going to weigh on this next episode. It's going to be either crap or good. And you notice that I never made a video. I said if something crazy happened, I'd make a video. And you could tell I never made a video because nothing really important happened. They're just panicking the whole time. And then finally they find her and she's just standing there going, what's up? Oh God, you didn't do anything? No, I took pictures of him. I seen that he was putting down somebody else's name. Whatever. All that hype. Yeah, and then there was like the side theory that I had that they were both like actually like actual animals, that they were shape-shifting into humans.
Yeah.
It's that stupid OP. The OP made me think that because they kept showing like symbolisms of wolves running. Not that I'm saying that doesn't happen if you want to have that mystery. Spoiler. Anyway, Shoshimin, How to Become Ordinary. I will probably watch the next season, hoping the writing gets as good as it was in that last arc. Hopefully that carries over. I doubt it. We'll see, though. A Journey Through Another World. Raising kids while adventuring, Chris. That's our next one. That's a you show, Chris.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the story. It was something about like he does he die? I think he died, right?
And then he died because of an accident.
What was the accident?
I don't know. Something having to do with God powers being overwhelmed.
That's right. It's one of those ones. It was like what was it? 80,000 Gold did that, didn't they? Where they were trying to get rid of the rifts and they accidentally got her caught up in it. So they went out of their way to make sure their next life is so good. And he goes to the next world and he's walking around. Then he runs into some 2 little kids that are in the forest, and then he helps them out. Mm-hmm. And then come to find out, apparently kids. They wanted him to find the 2 kids, and they're super OP. So he travels around the world with them. So what was the end? What was the end game here? Was it good?
It was
obviously, since you watched the whole thing.
Yeah, it was cute. I mean, this is the thing. Sometimes some of these shows are just cute and they do what they do, and this is another one of those. It's just cute and it does what it does. I don't remember anything specifically super blow everything out of the water. It was just generally he there's some kind of problem. He gets upset about it or wants to fix it or whatever have you. He gathers a bunch of food, and something's pops up. The two kids do their super pit kick. They do the flippy kick thing, just like the
ferret thing.
The ferret thing. And since they're so OP, and technically he's OP as well, but they're just so OP he never has to do anything. And then of course all of the gods have gifted him with more OP monsters to kind of join him by hiding in his shadow. So he's got a wolf, a tiger, a lion, and a thunderbird that are all following him around, and they're all OP as well. So it's just a party of OPness.
Whoa, gotta censor that one.
I know
YouTube's gonna pick up something naughty from that one.
But yeah, they go around and just wander around and go do dungeons and go move ships and put it in his inventory because that happened. And then he went to another dungeon, and then he gave the ship back because reasons, and he wanted to set a good example for the kids.
He put the ship in his bag.
He put the ship in his bag.
I mean, he's in another world. I'm not going to argue with that.
The physics, I know the physics, and it made perfect sense according to their physics.
Little kids with legs this long that are able to kick a monster, one shot him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to argue with it. I'm not going to argue with it. Breathing underwater. I'm not going to argue with it.
Well, they had bracelets.
What about bracelets?
Oh no! I mean, they just had bracelets. That's why they were breathing underwater.
Well, obviously, because you know how your oxygen intake's on your wrist.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No. Cool.
Yeah. Like I said, generally just fun, goofy.
Okay, so what is if somebody asked you, I have time for one show between, is it wrong to pick up lollies in a dungeon or isekai raising kids? Which one? I'm sorry, in another world with my child labor. Which one is better?
Depends on if you want cute or cuter.
Cuter. If you want a guy getting kissed by lollies while they one-shot everything, or just guy raising two lolly kids that one-shot thing by kicking them over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, one is generally a little bit more entertaining, and one is a bit more cuter. Which
one?
The lollies are technically more entertaining. This one is more cuter.
So it depends on if you want fuafu or lolly fun.
Yeah.
I can't really answer the question because I chose one and the other one, so it's obvious which I like more. I didn't watch this like I'm raising kids. I watched the is it wrong to pick up lollies in a dungeon? That says a lot about me. I kind of found it in the same vein as something like Fluffy Paradise, but at least Fluffy Paradise kind of changed it up enough for me, whereas that one wasn't really doing that for me. So.
Yeah, this one didn't really go much farther than what it was doing. It just, I mean, you're gonna know within the first 2 episodes what you're generally getting into. It like Andrew said, Fluffy Paradise is pretty much that. Just you have a Shota and a lolly, and they just kick everything, and they have fun doing it. And then they have bees, and they just have fun kicking the bees or throwing rocks at them. I think they threw rocks at the bees.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's another world raising kids adventuring something. I forget. Dead Demons Destruction. Shun. This one streamed on Crunchyroll. It was originally, I think, a 2-film thing. They spliced up into an ONA that released over 18 episodes technically, but there was an episode 0. The episode 0, I don't know why they made episode 0. Episode 0 takes place just before the end of the series. So if you watch this in the future, if you like what you hear here and you go to watch Dead Demons, start from episode 1. Then when you get to episode 16, watch 16 and then go back and watch 0 and then watch 17. So 1 through 16, 0, and then 17. That's the watch order. I don't know why they did that, but they did that. I'm so glad somebody told me, do not watch episode 0. It's like literally before the last chapter. But anyways, it's turned into an actual series that is streamed on Crunchyroll, done by Production H plus H, sources of manga, comedy, drama, sci-fi, slice of life. And this one opens up in Japan, where suddenly out of nowhere, this big spacecraft appears above the Earth, and everybody's freaking out. U.S. being U.S., we do what we do. We go over there, we nuke the thing. It doesn't touch the ship, but everybody underneath the ship is pretty messed up. You have pretty much everybody trying to move on with their lives years later, trying to, move on. The spaceship doesn't seem to be landing. They're not communicating to the humans. Everybody's kind of watching the ship, but it's not doing anything. And again, life is moving on. The government's trying to figure out what to do with the spaceship. And we follow Karade and Ontan, which are these two friends. They're going to school, doing their daily routine. You have like Karade at school. She's crushing over her teacher, wants to bag her teacher. Her teacher's like, when you graduate, maybe just come back and talk to me. Ontan is just kind of a goofball. She's all about this idea of trying to, rise up and take over the government and everything because she's absolute and everything. They pretty much go about their daily lives. Over time, there is spacecrafts leaving the spaceship regularly to kind of come down to kind of check out and scope things on Earth. Most cases, the humans just blast them out of the air, and then the government will kind of rush in and take the body, typically the U.S. government. There's a theme here, right? The U.S. government comes in there and steals away the bodies, and the Japanese people don't make it in time, so they get like the crafts or whatever. Eventually it does get into this idea of kind of interacting with the aliens themselves and the separation between what people believe they should be doing with the aliens. Some people obviously want to take care of the aliens. Some people welcome the aliens. Some people don't like the aliens. All kind of culminating to ultimately later on conflict. So I don't want to get too far into the story because I think this is kind of one of those ones where it's kind of best to go in as blind as possible. I will say that this series is different segments for me. Overall, my overall thoughts on this series, I think it's a masterpiece. I love it to death. I just ate up every single episode of this series that I watched. At some point, I got kind of sidetracked because this did start like just before the summer season started. And so when the new summer season started, I kind of got sidetracked trying to cover all the new shows that were coming out. But then when I got back to actually watching this series again, it was like, I started the episodes and I just could not take my eyes off of it. It's just kind of one of those series where it just, for me, everything about what this is doing just works on all cylinders. It's the best way that I can describe it is it's a slice of life in the midst of a possible apocalypse, basically. Like, what mankind would do if suddenly a spaceship appears above us and we can't do anything about it? Yes, we'd freak out at first. Everybody's going, "Holy crap! Is this it? Is this it? Are they gonna put us in farms in their spaceships? Are they gonna test on us? Are they just gonna nuke us and get rid of us? What is gonna happen?" So everybody panics at first, but what happens after like 4 years and nothing happens? You go about your life. Like they had this one situation where like the spaceship's there and everything like that, and Kodade's father just goes, "I gotta get this transcript for this manga over to the publisher." It, like, life goes on. Like, you still have to do what you're doing. It's just like, real life and reality right now. It's like you'll hear on the news, holy crap, there's this war that's kind of brewing up across the seas. And what's your response? I got to go to work. Like, what are you going to do? Same thing, like, for us. 9/11. Good example.
Yeah.
It happened. What happened that day? You went to your jobs. Like, you still had to do what you're doing, even though, holy crap, it just looks like we were under attack. You still have to move about your life.
Well, there's this. There was a movie that they had done that was called "The Day the Earth Stood Still" or something like that, where it was basically an alien invasion, where everything kind of pauses for a minute.
Yeah,
and you almost have this kind of moment of, I have to keep moving. Otherwise, if I acknowledge the totality of what's going on right now, it would destroy me. So I have to keep moving forward.
And there was quite a bit of that in the series that I really loved. Like, some characters kind of took to the whole situation better than others. There's these people that were online, and they're basically saying the people in Tokyo that are right underneath the ship. They're talking about how they're just brainwashed. They're brainwashed by the spaceship. They're going about their daily lives. Why are they still there? Why did they not leave Tokyo? Get the hell out of there. You guys crazy? The ship could be, sending rays that are messing with your brains. There's obviously talking about the fallout from them basically nuking the ship above Earth. Like what kind of chemicals or whatever, the effects of the bomb itself did affect the people. There's a lot of that kind of stuff there that's kind of going on. Then there's question mark. Is the aliens already amongst us? Are they disguising themselves as the humans? Are the people that are around me, are they aliens? They're just taking on the mass of humans. But again, at its core, it turns into what I found most fascinating about this is just people just going on with their lives. It's like a slice of life sci-fi where there's a spaceship in the background, but they're just having fun doing goofy things. Ontan just wants to go hang out. We're all going to have a birthday party over at her house. And so they go and they do a birthday in the background. There's constantly this little spaceship that's up there. It's that kind of stuff that's super cool to me. Every now and then they question, why would I worry about what work I'm going to do in the future? We're probably dead by then. Like we're probably going to be dead by then. They're probably going to invade us, so they'll nuke us or something like that. Kotode does this a lot. Kotode is constantly questioning, why do I even bother? We're probably not going to be here in a couple more years. They'll probably come down and get rid of us, or the rays will mess with our heads. The economy's probably going to crash. There's the economic impact that's happening right now. Is the economy going to still hold up? Is this whole thing going to affect that? I love that stuff. That's the stuff that I think that this writer so well realized with this series. Now, that aside, putting that over here. Like I said, masterpiece overall, I'm going to probably score this a 10 out of 10. It's not a perfect show, and I'm going to get into why it's not a perfect show, but I think overall this is like a 10 out of 10 show for me. I think this is probably an amazing classic. I know the source material readers, you have your problems with it. I acknowledge it. I was trying to follow on with the manga while I was watching it, and I realized very quickly you can't really do that because they kind of moved a lot of things around. And it's always going to be the case. Source material is always going to be better. I acknowledge it. I'm going to read it eventually. I'm planning on probably once Barnes & Nobles has a nice sale on, I'll probably buy the entire series, but I do want to read it. But yeah, it's not perfect. So we're going to put this aside. This is all my, most of my positivity is over here. My biggest negative that I have is the government stuff. Don't care. Like it spent a little bit too much time getting into the politics where you have like cuts over to the military guys and they're going, gosh dang it, the Americans again, or gosh dang it, what are we going to do? Well, they're blasting the stuff out of the sky. They're going to hurt people. What are we going to do next? Oh my gosh, it's this military group. What are we going to do with this? Oh my gosh, let's build another mecha. We're going to fund this company to make mechas that'll shoot it down. Boring as hell. I found most all the political stuff boring as hell. Every time it cut to the governors, every time it cut over the military, every time it cut over anywhere else, I just did not care. And it did it a lot of the time. It wasn't like most of the series until like the later parts. It got very much so heavy in it. But anytime it was with the government, it just didn't feel like it was doing anything interesting. Like it was just the usual you would have for them freaking out about the aliens and what they're going to do with the aliens and shooting it down and the government's getting involved and what is America doing? They're stealing all the technology and blah, blah, blah. It just wasn't interesting at all. So that's probably the biggest stain that I think this series has is just, it's when it gets political, it's not interesting. It's never interesting. And especially towards the later part where you start to get the characters more involved with what's going on and you have these factions being put together. And then the last couple episodes get super weird with it. And I just didn't care really about any of that stuff. And it did come to I didn't care for the ending. I not that the ending ruins it. This is definitely one of those series where the journey is where it's at. The ending just felt like they just had to wrap it up somehow. It's it has one of those feelings where it's like, I'm pretty sure that it makes sense what they did. Like the ending, by all means, I'm not saying the ending doesn't make any sense. It's just, it feels like we need to cut this off and this is the best way to do it. There's this one thing that we kind of brought to the forefront at some point halfway through the series. We'll just use that again and then everything kind of gets wrapped up. It didn't feel like a satisfying ending to wrap up everything they've kind of built up and put so much focus on, but at the same time, it's not as if the ending doesn't make sense. The ending is logical to the rules they created. It just kind of feels like a cop-out. But again, that doesn't ruin it because the rest of the series is where it was at. Like those first. It's really hard to say first episodes because we had that episode 0. If you take the 0 and you put it over here and you just call it 18 episodes, the first 16 episodes solid. It's just those last 2 episodes. They're like, yeah, I see that it was going this direction. I don't really care. I like this other stuff. Like I said, where it was at its best is just that kind of slice of life sci-fi where they'll be going to school one day, suddenly government decides to blast a spaceship coming out of the mothership. It lands on top of one of their friends, and then come to find out the next day they're missing, and by the way, they died. And it's like, how do they overcome that kind of stuff? Moving forward their lives and the losses and all that kind of stuff. It's just really, it had those gut punches when it wanted to. I love the style of it. I know that some people are very mixed on the style. I love the style. It's very unique. It's very much to the creator style. And I just love the characters, the chemistry, the slice of life, the drama between the characters and living in this really kind of twisted life. When they get into kind of a backstory segment, they kind of twist things around. I thought they handled that really well. It was a cool little twist to one of the characters, and it really kind of added more of a flavor towards the story that went forward. So really, really fascinating series. I really loved it. And definitely goes up there as one of the best of the season so far. So as we have a couple more that are still wrapping up. I have a couple more shows still wrapping up. This season is going to be difficult for making a top list. Like every now and then I go, damn, that series is good. Like Days of My Stepsister was that this week. I'm like, yeah, Days of My Stepsister ended really good. That's definitely going to go up in my top list. And then a couple of minutes later, I go watch the rest of another show, and I'm like, crap, I forgot about this show. Yeah, this show is definitely going to go on my top list. After a while, I'm realizing this is going to be very difficult. At least the top 5 for this season is going to be very difficult to put together. So, yeah, really love it. Good show. Dead Demons Destruction. Definitely up there for one of the bests. What's our next one, Chris? We have
Roshidere.
Are you looking at the list on your phone or your phone wrist?
On my watch, yeah.
Your phone wrist? Alya. I seen that glance down. You went G. G. I seen that G. Every time I think I grab it, and I'm apparently just short of it. I don't think I put Roshidere, did I? I didn't. Alya sometimes. Yuki always shows Yuki never hides her feelings from her brother is what I call it. Yuki never hides her feelings from her brother, or Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. Tokidoki bosoto roshogo de dededu tonari no Alya-san. This one is streaming on Crunchyroll for 12 episodes, done by Dogo Kobo. Source is a light novel, comedy, romance, slicing the life. It's a good season of slice of life. And this one follows Kuze. And Kuze is his classmate, neighbor in his class is Alya, or Alisa Kujo. And as we find out over time, she is a transfer student from Russia. Well, she lived in Russia at first. Or she lived in Japan for the longest time, and then when she was like 8 years old or so, she transferred to go abroad in Russia to study there. But then she came back. She's half Russian. Her father was Russian. Yes, her father's Russian. Her mother is Japanese. But anyways, she knows Russian obviously because of this. And whenever she interacts with Kuze, whenever she wants to kind of flirt with him, she will say things in Russian. So she'll say like, you're such a cutie or something like that in Russian. Now, she says it very confidently because she suspects that this Japanese boy sitting next to her, that she seems to want to tease a lot in Russian, she assumes that he doesn't know Russian. But when Kuze was very young, he had this one girl that was in the neighborhood that he played in the playground with every now and then that spoke Russian. And so he taught himself how to speak Russian so that he could be able to talk to her. And so he knows Russian. So whenever Alya says something in Russian, he knows exactly what she says. But she doesn't tell him that because at some point he was like, yeah, I kind of should probably tell her that I know what she's saying, but I've been kind of letting it slide for so long and acting like I didn't know what she's saying that if I tell her now, it'll probably ruin her, probably extremely embarrass her to find out that I know everything that she's saying. So yeah, that's kind of their chemistry between the two of them. Over time, we find that she eventually wants to join the student council, or she's in the student council, and then she wants to run for student council president, which that is opposite to Kuze's sister, who also is going to be running as student council president. And there's a little bit of a battle between the two of them, who is going to take Kuze as being their vice president as they run. And yeah, he ends up getting roped into joining the student council too. So yeah, it's kind of the concept there, all building up towards the student council president race, which we're not getting into yet. We had our introductions at this one big meeting before summer break, but that's going to be all in second season, which would be a good announcement for second season. So I'm guessing the second season is going to be probably, I don't know, they're probably going to do summer break first, and then they'll probably go into the, I wonder how much time they'll spend in summer break, but they'll probably go right into the student council president run.
Well, the way,
no, because that'll be second year.
The way it sounded at the end of the show, it almost sounded like they were going to go right straight into the summer. So
right, so they'll do summer break because he wanted to hang out with her, and then that'll be the 2 second semesters. It won't be a second year, so they're not going to be able to do the student council president run until. Did they do the president run at the first semester or the last semester of the previous year? Isn't this the first semester of the next year?
I'm assuming they do two split, almost seasons. Like they do one part of the year, then they take a short break, and then they do the second part of the year.
I would assume like they're us, yeah, where you do like your first 2 semesters summer break, second 2 semesters, then your winter break, and then your first 2 semesters.
Yeah, that's.
But I wasn't sure when they do the actual president run. Is it usually in the first semester or the last semester?
I'm assuming in the second semester, because that would make sense. Because then it would overlap with the with their senpai or whatever, their senior classmen.
Yeah, because usually want the senpais to kind of be able to do their exams and stuff like that, so they'll pass them off.
Exactly.
Yeah. The other aspects of this whole story is that Kuze, the reason why he doesn't currently live with his sister. At some point when he was very young, the mother and father broke up, and he decided to stay with the father, whereas his sister decided to stay with the mother. And it seemed to indicate that the sister stayed with the mother because she's a part of the So family, which So family is a very prominent, rich family, and so she needed medical care because she was sick or something, whereas Kuze wanted to support his father, so he decided to stay with the father. But there's a lot of expectations for Kuze in this decision because the So family is all about, like, they're a very prideful family. They're all about excellency and everything like that. The grandfather of the So family had a lot of expectations upon Kuze because he was very brilliant as a child. And so now it seems like the grandfather is manipulating the granddaughter, Yuki, his sister, to basically crush him in the student council run. It's just kind of a petty little thing. The family themselves is kind of pressing upon them as siblings, which kind of sucks. I freaking hate that crap. Stupid Colonel Sanders bastard, I want to punch him in the face. KFC Colonel bastard, I want to kick him in the face. Well, the mother's just sitting there. Yeah, there was a little twist towards the earlier part as well, that Alya's sister, Masha, she has a little locket. And in that little locket, there's a picture of a young boy that she had a crush on a long time ago. It looks an awful lot like Kuze, so it kind of teases at the idea of her being this little girl from his childhood that he learned to speak Russian for. But yeah. And then there's Ayano, the maid. Yuki's maid, Ayano, which just wants to sing him a lullaby when he's sick. Anyways, go ahead. What's your thoughts on this series?
I think the show is really well done. I like the kind of awkwardness that goes on between Kuze and Alya. I love the teasing aspect from almost all of the characters. So a lot of the girls in the show are just absolutely just too much fun, and I absolutely love how it does that. Have a lot of pretty good drama beats when you want to kind of push things. Love the teasing nature between Kuze and his sister.
The two sisters are great.
Yeah.
Yuki and Masha stole the show for me. Both Masha's just like big sis. She's like, he's like, what he said at one point? He's like, every time she pats my head, it feels like all my defenses just get lowered. Like he's always got these blockades up, but the moment that she starts patting his head, Yoshi, he's like, he just melts. I'm like, I would too. Masha could melt anything.
But yeah, I can't think of anything that I really didn't much care for in this show. I generally just had a lot of fun with it. This is definitely pretty high in my season list this year. So yeah, I love it.
It's smug face waifus, the anime. That's what I call it.
Yeah,
they all have the smug face. They all do the same smug face. The animation and the art direction and style and the character designs of this series are just chef kiss. Like visually, I love the designs and everything of this series. Like very quickly, no matter what character showed up in this series, the moment I see them, I'm like, that's the next waifu. Like they're just so gorgeous looking. I love their style and their faces and everything. Like I said, yeah, jokingly, but it's true. Like I just love these cute little smug faces. Like that first time, like he's alone with Alya and she does that whole thing with a stocking. And she's got that little smug face on, and then it cuts over to later on where they're in the cafeteria and Yuki walks up and she's got that little smug face, like she wants to twist something and make a problem out of something because she's the mischievous little sister. I love it. The design in the series is great. They had some really good ecchi early on, like the stocking scene where he's putting the stocking on and bumps a little area down underneath there, and she freaks out and kicks him. And they had a few cute little ecchi moments early on that kind of seemed to. I mean, later on they had the whole hypnosis thing, but besides like those early first moments with the ecchi, I felt like at some point they decided to stop the ecchi and just kind of move on. There was a dressing scene too, but for the most part, early on this series was up there. Like, I think the first couple weeks, I think this was my number one new show of the season. Like, this was like, I mean, at the time I was kind of not caught up on Dead Demons, but for the new shows early on for this season, I was like, Alya's up there. Like, this is probably number one for me. And it was really kind of every time that they would have a Yuki episode where Yuki was kind of more involved. Like that whole bedroom scene with her was just super freaking good. And like at some point Makane started getting really strong. Like I'm like Makane, when this one was kind of fighting with each other for the longest time, I'd watch an episode of Makane, I'm like, no, that's the best show. And then I watched an episode of this, I'm like, no, that's the best show. And then at some point Makane just took over and it never took it again. Because I felt like this show at some point just kind of started to, it kind of cooled down. It not that it got bad, but at some point it kind of started cooling down. And I did get to a point where I just never really I wasn't like super into this series unless it was like involving Yuki or Masha or something like that. The best way that I can describe the series, and it's kind of an oddity about the series, it's the series that the side characters took over from the heroine. Like this is, now granted, it's not out of the question that I love a series because of side characters. Like there's a lot of the cases where I don't really care much for the main love interest and I love all the other characters. But this one's like the most obvious about it. Like I loved Alya's episode when they had that one episode where it got into her backstory and how Kuze first met her and, you know, solved this issue that she had. It was really the moment in which he caught the eye of Alya. Because when Alya was transferred there, she wanted to do everything on her own. Her biggest problem was that she doesn't rely on other people. Everything she has to do it herself. She's from a family where she did not want to be seen as being basically, you know, raised by a silver spoon. Her family is well off. She did not want to grow up by their merits alone. She wanted to make her own achievements so that people didn't see her as being given everything. So she was very focused on handling everything herself. So it was good to see her character and see how Kuze steps up and goes, they have this festival coming up. She wants to handle everything on her own. And he eventually kind of makes her realize, no, you can get other people involved. We're going to get these people involved. They're going to get these people involved. We'll get everybody involved. She's not good at communicating. So he kind of showed her that. And so that's why she kind of gets interested in Kuze. Kuze is a character that she always didn't like because he seems like he just doesn't want to get involved with anything. He's very much so lazy. He's the punk kid. He's the the slacker basically. And The story, the big central story focus is really about Kuze giving up on things. Because of what happened to his parents and everything, he gave up on everything. And so there is an aspect of Yuki and Alya. Yuki's whole point is that she wants her old brother back. This brother that she once had that was always focused on achieving things. He was very smart and everything. She wanted to restore that in him. So she does see that Alya Alya could bring that back into Kuze, but she doesn't trust her enough. So you have Yuki on the side is almost trying to challenge that and constantly watch Kuze and Alya to make sure that Alya never kind of abandons him. So that's kind of that core story in there. But outside of that, Alya she has her moments. She has her moments, but she's just kind of, the chemistry's not really there. She's hot, but she's not really there. The story and the show and the chemistry nails it whenever it's Yuki's on the scene. And she is just having this mischievous fun with her brother, which I love that stuff. Thematically, and yes, it's funny. And yes, there's the Wincest Bros Syscon stuff that's just firing all cylinders. Like, you're like, damn it. Every person watching this is going, dude, jump on Yuki. Like, when she's on top of him and wakes him up and she's talking about, what are you popping one? It's like, yes, grab that girl and go at it. Like, there is a Syscon Brocon side of it that's like, damn, why this guy is not completely just jumping Yuki is beyond me. Yuki is hot. She's asking for love from her brother. You're like, damn it, let me get in on that. Yuki is definitely up there as probably like, if not the top waifu of the season. But like, story-wise, it makes sense because Yuki is this girl that is, again, stuck in the So family. There's all these expectations being put on her by her grandfather and her mother. All this expectations being placed upon her. Even the grandfather himself says that she'll never be as a genius as her brother, but he wants her to kind of take him down. There's all this little nasty stuff that's happening behind the scenes when she's at home, that when she gets around her brother or alone with Ayano, their maid, she just wants to have fun. Like, she just wants to be a dork. She wants to read smut, Wincest mangas and have fun with it. Like, there's like a story reason for her being kind of the silly dork that she is whenever nobody's looking. So I loved her character. Again, Masha's great as well. I think she's a big sis type, super lovey, really love her character. She really quickly realized who Kuze was, and there's that big massive question mark there as if she would ever make a move, because she obviously sees that Alya likes him. There's a lot of kind of threads already being built with these characters that I'm really, really liking. So it's got me super excited for another season. But I think the takeaway that I had when we finally finished the season was really... Did you like the season finale? I thought it was like a...
No.
Meh. I had the same feeling with the season finale that I did for that other assembly they did. Like, the speeches and the kind of competition. It was one Taniyama.
No, as far as the debate per se, I liked it, but the ending of the episode, no. I mean, we're gonna go to summer. Wait, we have a whole bunch of crap we got to cover. I mean, why?
Like, they had that whole scene with the mother. It was like, holy crap! I did my review on when they had the student council, the parent teacher thing.
Yeah.
Like, that episode ended, and I'm going, holy crap! His mom's in front of him. What is he gonna say? Like, I did my video impressions on it. And I'm like, I'm making my predictions on what can happen. I'm like, yeah, technically, it could turn into he just doesn't respond to mom, and they just walk right by. Probably my assumption was that the grandfather was going to talk to Yuki, because the grandfather probably loves Yuki. He's going to talk to the mom. He already kind of spoke to the mom, and then the next episode starts. Wait, well, it didn't happen. Like, we're just going to jump forward in time. Like, apparently that conversation never happened. Like, okay, I guess we're not going to find out what happened in that hallway, because we're just jumping right ahead to something else. I was all bugged by that. But no, the finale I thought was like yeah, the debate is similar to Taniyama's whole thing. It's like it just, I didn't feel like a good competition or anything like that. It didn't have no weight in there. It just kind of went, oh yeah, by the way, we're just gonna do this, and then we'll invite the others onto the stage, and yay, I guess you win this time. Cutscene. It just was like just not a very interesting episode overall, but that's kind of the tribute to the series as a whole. There's like 3 extremely weak episodes, and the rest of it was good, and there's like 4 episodes that were just fire. Like super good episodes. So yeah, including the hypnosis episode.
Hypnosis was great.
I got a huge kick out of that because when I see that episode, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know certain groups are gonna probably flip about this episode. Very surprised a certain website didn't go crazy about it, but they barely even mention what happened there. So I'm like, I almost wondered if they just decided, I'm not even gonna talk about that. I'm just not going to talk about the elephant in the room. I'm just going to talk about what happened in the rest of the episode. And we're just going to ignore this whole thing happened with the girls being hypnotized. Like, to be fair, it didn't get as bad as it could have been. But there is a side of me that's like, yeah, I can't admit that Kuze probably should have left the room. We as viewers are happy they didn't leave the room because it's more funny. But yeah, you kind of do see that at some point, guy would probably want to leave the room. It's like Yuki's in the room, Ayano's in the room. They could probably handle the girls. You should probably. But then the moment that Masha grabs them and starts petting them on the head, it's like, yeah, you can't really argue with that.
Nope.
If Masha wants to head pat you, you're gonna let her head pat you. I just like the after effect of this whole situation where he's stuck in the was it the home ec room with Masha, and she's like, "Did you see anything?" Yeah. And they started grabbing his cheeks and pinching him. He's like, don't make girls do things that give them embarrassing memories or something like that. And he's just like, is this supposed to be like punishment? She's on like this puffy face and she's going, don't make girls have embarrassing experiences. And she's like, yes, ma'am. Let me do it again so you can pinch my cheeks and puff that cheek at me again. Masha's great. So who's your best girl? Are you team Alya then? Because you seem the most positive about Alya.
Oh, I really love Alya, but Masha's probably my favorite.
I'm on Team Yuki. I can't. I bet, like, yeah.
I like Yuki, but
if I was Kuze and obviously like the laws of land is not going to allow Yuki to happen, yeah, probably, no doubt, Masha. Like Masha, easy. Like if I'm sitting there as Kuze as a character, I mean, jokes aside, I don't think Yuki loves Kuze. Again, I think a lot of Yuki's whole thing there is that she wants to support him. Yeah, she obviously has like he's a genius, but I think what a lot of what Yuki's character is, she wants to help Kuze get better. She sees that this whole thing with our family has ruined him, and she wants him to have purpose again. That's the whole part of her story. Now, putting aside Yuki, between Alya and Masha, it's easy Masha for me personally. I get his like for Alya, but I don't get, besides her being super hot, I don't get much out of her. Whereas Masha, I find her to be a lot more doting and a lot more comforting. And again, I do have my theories that my theory has always been, and this isn't spoiler because they never really get into it again. It's one of those kind of things where it's like all those rom-com series where they introduce the idea of the picture. Which of the girls is the one in the picture, and they spend the entire novel series figuring out who's the one from his past. It's kind of like that whole thing. He's got this memory of this girl that had blonde hair and the same eyes as Alya. And then we see Masha with the locket that has what looks like Kuze's picture in it. So Masha has apparently a photo of Kuze. The moment she's seen Kuze, she realized it was him. So Masha thinks this boy is at least Masha remembers him from the past. Kuze remembers a blonde girl from the past. Now, my theory is that he has taken Masha and Alya. He met Masha and Alya when he was young. And I think he's merged the two of them together in his mind. So, because he sees a blonde girl with Alya's eyes, whereas Alya has silver hair, and Masha has brown hair, and Masha has like brownish yellow eyes. So, I think he's putting the two of them together. So I think it's going to come down in the end. He knows both of them. It's either that or either Masha or Alya. I doubt Alya changed her hair color, but I guess she could have. It could be somebody else, somebody completely different.
A third sister.
Yeah, that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be a third sister. That's why Masha's so hooked on him, is because she got the photo from the dead sister.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
she's
I
trying to
wouldn't
find
say
him.
dead sister, but
It's got to be a dead sister.
they got to
have
add more
talk
girls to
about
the
it.
harem.
That's
Don't
true.
even try.
It's Nonoa. It's Mia Mai the whole time, because she got that Gyaru blonde hair going on. It was Mia Mai the whole time.
Watch her walk in and randomly start talking in Russian.
Every girl in the series actually does Russian. Here comes Ayano, walks in the door, she starts talking in Russian. Ayano was great too. Holy crap, dude. I loved Ayano's character. She's just she got that kind of, that very, was it deadpan kind of personality.
I do love her humor. Super
cute. Anyways, that's Alya sometimes hides her feeling in Russian. I'm glad that after about 7 episodes, people shut up about the Russian. Like at some point, people finally started shutting up about the Russians. Sumue Uesaka, she did a really good job, though. Like, she did a very good job. And again, I kept reminding people that this is still a Japanese show. She's not going to be perfect in the Russian. She's very good for it. In my opinion, it seemed like most people that seemed to want to be level-headed about it were in agreement that she was doing a good job. But at the end of the day, when she talks in Japanese, it's got to sound as good. Their priority as a Japanese show is going to be, whenever she talks in Japanese, her Japanese perfect. And the Russian's just kind of secondary to everything else. So I think she did a good job. She got a great voice, so it works. There you go. That's roshidere. Definitely up there. Days with My Stepsister. That's another show that ended just this. Well, pretty much all these shows ended this week. Days with My Stepsister, definitely, probably the biggest surprise for me for this season, easily. But this one ran for 12 episodes. Gimai Saikatsu is the Japanese title, based on a light novel. Studio is Dean, surprisingly enough. And this one follows Yuta Asamura. And at some point, his father said, "Hey, man, I have finally decided to move on. I want to get remarried. I met somebody, and I want you to come meet her and meet her daughter. Come meet us at this location later on." So he ends up going there to this restaurant later on, meets his dad there with his new mother and his new mother's daughter, so his new stepsister, which is Saki Ayase. They talk for a little bit. Seems like everything's going well. At some point, Yuta runs into Saki, the stepsister, off the side, and she's like, "You seem a lot more nicer than I thought you would be. I was kind of afraid you'd be mean." She kind of drags him off to another location where she admits to him, "Hey, look, just going forward, I don't expect anything of me, and I won't expect anything from you." And he immediately is like, "That sounds great." He's kind of the same mindset. We're going to be step siblings going forward, but not having expectations of each other is a great thing. We're able to kind of do our lives. Nothing changes. We're going to be in the same house together, but we don't have to worry about having to accommodate each other or anything like that. Cut forward, they move into the house. Yuta's pretty accommodating to them, helping Saki unpack and everything like that. They have a couple conversations at home. They kind of establish a couple things, like that when they're going to go into school, same school. Okay, well, let's just act like strangers. We don't know each other. Don't tell anybody that we're, related or anything like that, through marriage, whatever. So just kind of go about their life. It doesn't take very long before Yuta starts to kind of hear a few things about his new sister. There's a lot of rumors at their school about his sister, and the idea that everybody thinks that she's kind of a slut, basically, that she sleeps around a lot. She's always kind of done up proper, and she looks like a gyaru, and she's always up and everything like that. A lot of people kind of have a lot of comments about her being loose or whatever. And at some point, he ends up kind of having some conversations with her at home, ends up finding out that, these rumors aren't really true. She's not really doing anything like that. She pretties herself up as sort of like a battle costume, basically. There's a bit of a trauma thing here in the idea that her mother, essentially, her parents had divorced because at some point there was a falling out with his company, and her mother decided to go out and get a part-time job in order to support the family. And it was at this one bar. And at some point the father got mad at her, saying that she was, using her body to be successful or whatever. And that kind of reflected upon Saki as well, as she feels like if you are successful as a female, that means that most people are going to see that you're doing it by selling your body. Whereas if you're really smart, you don't look pretty or whatever, people will judge you as being just kind of full of yourself, whatever. So there's this kind of this a bit of a conflict that she has, and these barriers that she's kind of put up for herself, and that's affecting her. Opposite side, for Yuta's perspective, there is a lot of, yes, damage that has been done where with the divorce of his parents as well, and the idea that the mother cheated on his father. So he has a lot of trust issues with women and relationships in general, so he's got a lot of barriers up for himself as well. And what kind of proceeds for this series overall is just kind of seeing the two of them interacting with each other, even though they've set these expectations of no expectations up at the front, and they constantly have these barriers up that they don't want anybody to kind of get past. Over time, those barriers are slowly kind of breaking away. Now, there's a few things that I think, and I think that's pretty much all I really wanted to get into for the story, because I don't want to get too much into this, but there's a few things that really does set this series aside from really any other series that I've ever watched. First and foremost, visually, directing-wise, for me, I think this show was fantastic. And I will admit that early on, I think up until episode 9, watching this series, I did acknowledge that this is a very slow-moving series. I don't want to say it's slow-paced, but I know that a lot of people are going to define it as a slow-paced series. I think the pacing's perfect for what they're doing here, and essentially making it feel realistic. Because let's face it, reality is slow. Reality in life is really slow. And I think what they did with this series is they managed to kind of nail this sort of normal setting and a normal pacing that really gets you set in the mood of the characters. A really good example is they have this one moment where there's kind of a conflict happening between Yuta and Saki. And whenever they're at home, they're always alone because, the father's working and the mom's out working the bar. And so they're constantly eating dinner alone. And you have this whole conflict happen between them. And so you have this very long stretch time where they're sitting at the dinner table eating dinner and there's no conversation. It's just this one shot coming from down the hallway up towards the dining room, and they're just sitting in the dining room eating. And it's like this long stretch of silence. And it really does get you set in this kind of feeling of, yeah, these two are having a difficulty. There's a problem happening right now, and they're just sitting there eating in silence. And there's a lot of scenes like that, like this whole scene early on where Saki, it's like her first night there, and she takes a bath. And then when she gets out of the bath, she comes out into the hallway, and she's struggling for a minute, try to find the light to turn off all the lights in the hallway before she goes to bed. And I think it does that very well. And I think a lot of people will see a lot of those scenes as, oh my gosh, something exploded already. It's really boring. For anybody that's like very kind of set into action shows and adventure shows and stuff like that, you're going to probably find a lot of this more mundane moments to be very kind of frustrating. But I think they do definitely set a tone for what's kind of going on with the characters on a regular basis. Now, where I think the series gets super fascinating for me is it's really in the Wincest syscon brocon thing. Yes, this is established early on. This is step siblings, so they're not blood related. But I do really find shows for me when it comes to this kind of thing. There's the area of things like roshidere, where it's like, yeah, you want to ship Yuki so bad because she's just so mischievous. She's super fun. She's hot and everything like that. She's willing to do anything. She's like, why bother with her cup when you can have these whenever you want? That mischievous kind of thing is like it's probably never going to happen, but you kind of like it. Then there's like the kiss exist thing where it's like, let's just go all out with it. They want to bang him so bad. And then there's like this little middle area here where I really feel like it's very rarely ever hit on in a way that I think is done the way this one does it. The way that Days of My Stepsister handles this is, yes, the intro is literally saying we are nothing but strangers. We are step siblings. We're strangers. They even acknowledge a lot of light novels are going to have these stories about brothers and sisters and they get together in the end. It always plays into it. This is not that story. And I'm like, yeah, I see what you're doing here. We'll see how long that takes. I would probably say this is close to what I would. I hate to use the word. I really do. This is probably as close as I can see somebody labeling a deconstruction of Wincest as you can possibly get. Mainly because I think this one just handles the idea of a sister-brother relationship better than anything I've ever seen. Like, it really does respectfully get into every single conflict that can possibly rose up from a relationship between siblings in a way that is so respectful, thoughtful, and honestly both tugging at the heartstrings. Like, I hurt for Saki early on. Like, she really quickly kind of gets in the state of, I don't want to admit this because it's going to ruin things. And it had me, like, it was just tugging at my heartstrings. Like, I cried for this girl. At the same time, the reason why she's choosing to do what she does and why she pushes away the feelings for so long makes perfect sense. And it all kind of culminated to easily my favorite episode was episode 9. All culminating up to this big, massive climactic moment where there's a realization between the characters, not really between the characters, there's a realization amongst the characters separately that this needs to be set. Like, we don't need to be touching this. Put this here, lock it away, take the key, chuck it out the window, never look at that again. It did it so beautifully and in a way that made perfect sense to me that, like, I was like, cinema. Like, I did the whole cinema thing. Like, this is cinema. This episode was absolute cinema. But what was great is after that episode, after I watched that, after it blew me away, after I was like, wow, this is probably easily one of the best episodes of this entire season of all these shows, I went and found Ghost Mikawa, who is the author. No Earthly Clue. He turned me on to the fact that apparently Ghost Mikawa, the author of the series, has been writing commentaries for every single episode as they came out. And I went and I translated it with, I used Google AI translations to translate this massive, like, he wrote a book on episode 9. And I translated it, and then come to find out some paragraph in that, he literally says, this episode was the reason why I started to want to write commentaries on all the episodes. Because apparently he started from episode 1 doing commentaries, write-ups with each episode, tweeting them out. And then when they got to, apparently, when they were watching the Shirobako, like the original Shirobako they gave him of the Masters before they went out for it for him to approve of him, he got to episode 9 and he went, man, I really want to write commentaries about these. And that's why he went back and wrote commentaries on every single episode all the way up there. His write-up for episode 9 was like, I loved episode 9 already. I thought it was like the most amazing way of handling a sibling relationship like this that I've ever seen in anime, in a way that, again, is extremely respectful of what they're talking about. It has heart in it. It makes sense. I understand. My heart breaks for them, and I understand why they're choosing to do what they're doing. And it was so beautifully done. And still, when I read the commentary, like, all these separate moments that I found were so super good, it added something else to it. Not that, like, there was some missing context here and there, but it wasn't like the scene was wasted for it. It was just more of an aspect of, I understand what happened in this moment right here, but this adds another layer on top of it. So it was like, I hate to have to say that, but it is kind of one of those series where if you love this series, read the commentaries after each episode, because it's like it adds this other element to it. Like, specifically with that episode, it was like there was 2 meanings to the key that she throws. At the end of the episode of episode 9, she throws a key. And there's this one element that is really kind of blocking away feelings, but then there's like this whole other acceptance that comes with it. And I'm like, holy crap, that just added a whole nother layer to it. I loved it. I wanted to read his commentary on, there was one episode that I did a video on. It was the scene where she ends up going into his bedroom at some point. And I kind of want to see what the commentary was on that specific episode. But I think it's like, I only read it for 2 of them. So I don't want people to get the impression that you have to read his commentary to like this series. I read it for episode 9, and the finale. I didn't want to make my decision on liking the show based on just the commentary. So, but yeah, that was the side of me that wanted to do videos every single week on it because I was loving it. I love this series overall, like through and through. There was only one episode I didn't like, and that was episode 11. I think episode 11 felt it. Episode 11 is a necessity because there's a lot of wake up moments for the characters, but it felt off. It felt a little off, but 12 made up for it. Like I came back in episode 12 and it was like fantastic again. Like if episode 9, if you told me episode 9 was it, I would have been fine. But episode 12, if you told me that was the end of his light novel series, that was the end of the story, I've been perfect. Like chef kiss. I can accept this is the ending. That's how good it kind of wraps up the story. So I love it. I think it was easily one of my favorite shows of the season. I don't know if it's going to be top 3, but it might. It might be top 3 for me. I loved it. That stays my stepsister. Highly recommend it. Super good show. Just again, go into it knowing it's gonna feel slow. But I remember what I said in our first impressions. I was very perfectly clear. This show is slow, and it's methodical about how slow it is. It feels natural. But my concern was when I did first impressions was the only thing that's going to make this not worth it is if it doesn't build to a satisfying punchline. Like I know what they're doing. They're making it feel very grounded and realistic and normal. But I'm going to be mad if that doesn't lead into an actual punchline that makes all this worth it. Because in the end of the day, you still have to give me a good punchline no matter how slow you are. So it did. It delivered. Super good. There's my stepsister. A very rare Dean W for once. A rare Dean W. Again, that was the other thing those commentaries is this author loved it. Like this author loved the adaptation. Like you could see the passion in what they wrote about these commentaries. They're like there's this one scene where suddenly she cries, and that's not in the novel. And that's always one of those kind of struggle moments of like, okay, so it's not in the novel. So what do you think of it? And the author's like going, I kind of asked them, why did she cry right here? And they said when they went and did the storyboards, the character in their storyboards, the character Saki in their storyboards cried right here. And they didn't want to have her cry there because they need a climactic moment in this scene and they want to make the audience cry. It's just the character they wrote of her in this scene in the anime cried. And then when I went and watched it, it made sense. Yeah, she cried in this scene. Like the author's saying that I'm not, it's almost like the author's saying, I'm not wrong for not having her cry in the light novel. I just, in this anime adaptation, which they're completely making its own thing, like they're saying, this is the light novel, this is the anime. And what they're doing with the anime, I fully support. Yes, in this anime, she cried. And I love that kind of mindset that the author has in acknowledging this isn't the novel, because there's many points where they're going to see you can't portray this in visual medium. So they're obviously going to have to do something different visually in order to portray the emotion and what's going on in the scene. Right here, it's very much so in this character's head. They can't do that in the anime. They have to show it. How are they showing it? There's very clever. In the commentary, they mention at some point in the novel series, there's no portrayal of these two characters as young. But in the anime, they keep portraying the two characters as young in these little snippets. There's a lot of portrayal of the fact that the boy, when he was very young, his father took him out to the beach. And her, when she was young, her mother wanted to take her to the pool, but she never wanted to allow her mother to do that because she knew that her mother was working and she didn't want to have to cause her mother to take the day off. Knew that they were struggling. And so there was like this whole mindset of, well, I wish that day I did go with my mom. Maybe we would have run into them when they're at the beach or whatever. And maybe we could have met each other then and then support each other then, as we were both hurting back then because our parents had separated. And he's going to the idea that there's all these little portrayal of them being young, but that was never really kind of shown in the novel series. But they're using it here in order to make this connection. And they really like it. And it's like, it's cool seeing the author actually loves the adaptation that much. Like it really does sound like this author really liked what they did with it, and it's really kind of nice. And they even had him. They had this little excerpt talking about how at some point in the recording of the voice lines for the episode 12, the final episode, they went, man, we don't have anybody to record this store clerk, so we need you to come in here and record. And he's like, what are you guys talking about? Aren't these two still here? And they're like, no, come on in here. It's just one line. Come on in here. So they actually had him record the store clerk saying arigato gozaimasu. And he's like, yeah, I went in there and did like an upper inflection. They're like, no, it's supposed to do a downward inflection on that for a store clerk. And so he's like, I didn't know you had to do that. So he did it. He did a good job. He did a very good job. Had the voice actors in there that were all kind of coaching him along. I'm like, yeah, see, they were in the room. That was just a total lie. They wanted to get you to do it. It was so cute. I love it. I want to go back and read all of them. They were such good write-ups. Pseudo Harem, Chris. That show ended. You gotta get your microphone back up there. You're hiding from your microphone over there. It's because we were making jokes about Chris breathing into the microphone. Now he's like super cautious of it.
And plus, it's covering up half of my face.
You're trying to show him your good side there?
Yeah, I'm trying to show it. Because everybody says I'm asleep. I'm proving that I'm not asleep.
Moving the microphone's not going to keep you from looking like you're falling asleep. Well, the microphone's in his voice. We don't know if he's asleep or not.
Okay, fine. I didn't want to fall asleep and bang my head on the...
You got to do the marker thing where you close your eyes and you just go... Yeah, he's totally awake. He's totally awake.
No, I just didn't want to fall asleep and slam my head into the mic.
That would have been a good thing, because then we know that you
probably wake everybody else up.
Pseudo Harem or Gigi Harem.
Gigi Harem.
Gigi Harem. Crunchyroll streaming it. Ran for 12 episodes. Done by Nomad. Speaking of nomads, based on a manga, comedy, romance, slice of life. A lot of slice of life this episode. This one follows Rin Nanakura, and she just is a first year at this one school. She's just a first year at this one school. She goes to this new school. Once she gets there, she immediately runs into this guy, Eiji Kitahama, and she immediately asks him, hey, I'm looking for the drama club. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's right over here. Just to let you know, though, I'm the only member, and I am the president of it. And she's like, oh, wow, that's interesting. Goes in there and kind of find out, no, there's a ton of people in the drama club. He was just kind of acting, and they immediately test her out to see if she's any good, and she turns out to be really, really good at acting. And then what precedes this is Rin and her senpai, Eiji, hanging out with each other, and she finds out very quickly that his whole dream is to have a harem. And so she decides to create the harem for him by acting out different character archetypes like tsunderes and whatnot, and becoming the harem that he wants so badly. And they keep hanging out, and then he graduates, and he goes off to college, and she's super sad, and all that kind of stuff. So, what's your final thoughts on Pseudo Harem?
You want to take a wild guess? What do I think about the visuals?
If it didn't change since the first impression, you don't like it.
I hate it. Still hate it. To this day, I still hate it.
I think I got over it at some point for me personally. It was like at some point I'm like, it's fine.
No, I still hate it. But on the bright...
See, that's what you get.
Right?
That's what you get. You keep messing with it. That's because you have to put the one leg going towards you.
Well, yeah,
you can't let it outstretch over the spread legs.
You don't understand. There's the problem of the TV stand. That's my problem, is the TV stand.
No, you bring the leg that's behind over on this side, you bring that towards me. Just there, bingo.
It ain't gonna work that way.
Bingo.
Now it...
Because you're not supposed to bring it away from your face, Chris. That's the whole point.
You don't understand.
You don't understand my illogicalness. Understand my illogicalness. Steve, you're messing with it again.
You're gonna complain about me not making enough noise. Anyway, what I do love about this show is I find it charming, and I did find myself just absolutely drawn into it. I really did enjoy the character interplay, especially when she would do her kind of pseudo harem going into Cool-chan, Imp-chan, Tsundere-chan, Spoilt-chan, all of them.
Imp-chan.
Imp-chan.
Sister-chan.
I don't remember Sister-chan. I do know
She did a sister. I don't remember what she called her.
there was Spoilt-chan.
No, there was a sister.
Okay. But no, I just loved it. I really did.
I guess it might have been Spoiled Town. You might be right. I don't know. It all blurred together for some point for me. I just like at some point she gets jealous of one of her types.
Yeah. She starts getting
I'm like,
jealous of her own types.
Is this a joke or she legit? Because I mean, there's a side of me that almost like gets in that realm of like, this is actually kind of scary. Like, I know Andrew, stop overthinking it, but this is actually kind of scary.
She's like
she
really
might,
building multiple
she
personalities.
might legit stab herself. How dare you take him from me? How dare you take him from me? He's going, Edge is going, wait, what are you doing? Stop stabbing yourself. No, like super dark. He went super dark. Yeah, I was like, there was a whole like beach scene right there where she's like trying not to get it wet and everything, and she's talking about how like you don't love me, and it's like, he literally said that he loved. What are we doing right now? Like, this is kind of getting weird. Like, we're getting the psychological stuff here. Like, she might be broken, legit. So, anyways.
Yeah, especially when they started actually talking about the whole idea of whether or not they're going to get married, and they're talking about should she step away from her career path, and I'm like, wait, who is she get? Because she's already getting upset about possibly he rejected this part of her, but not this part of her, and we're talking about marriage. You got issues, baby girl. Wait, let's not go there.
Did he confess to me, or did he confess to Imp-chan? Oh no! Or was it my sister? Wait, no. Did he confess to me? Wait, who is he? Is he senpai? Wait, no. It's like, yeah, again,
he's not the tree again, is he?
There's a scary thing. Yeah, is the tree that confessed to me, or did he confess the tree? Like, girl, I think you've been doing this too long. It's time to stop. Like, I mean, again, it plays into the concept of the story here, but there is like a moment where you're like, it does creep into the mind in the mix of like a rom-com. This is obviously a rom-com. This is supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be cute. It's supposed to not take itself seriously, but it does technically have slice of life tag in there, and that typically does kind of make you want to think a little more about it. That's where it gets scary. But no, I agree with Chris. I early on, I did criticize this show a little bit, because the initial concept here is cutscene. Okay, enter room, edgy senpai, Ren and senpai is in the room, and he goes, man, I this is going on. And she goes, oh, so this, and he goes, oh, is that Tsundere-chan? Oh, wow, that's what she thinks about the situation. Cutscene. And then it would basically open scene, problem is shown. She'll give 1 to 3 different type of caricatures that she has in her own head that she plays out as, and then he'll react to it. What? And then it cuts scene. And it would just that over and over again. And that was this chick for like the first, 5 episodes? Because we did our first impressions, and I still have the same thought process there. It's repetitive. It's cute. It's charming. She's really cute. Sayori Hayami, voice of Yor Forger, she does a great job of it. And Bakugo voice actor there, screaming perfectly like Bakugo screams. But it's like, this is repetitive. It's cute, it's charming, but it's repetitive. And then it kind of got to the point where, he was going to go graduate, and their relationship kind of starts to move forward. And I'm like, holy crap, a rom-com where I think they're in a relationship? I don't know. They literally skip every like pinnacle point of their relationship, so I don't know if they confessed, but I'm assuming they confessed. I don't know. For some reason, they didn't want to show the scene where they confessed. We're just assuming they confessed. I think they're in a relationship. I think they're dating. I think they're going out. They're hanging out a lot. They're getting jealous of each other. She's afraid that he's meeting girls at college. I'm assuming they're in a relationship because, again, they're skipping every scene where anything happens. I think they kissed. I don't know. For some reason, we're not allowed to show a kiss. We're not allowed to show a confession. I don't know why they're skipping all these pinnacle points of the relationship. I guess we're just assuming it's going forward. So I still had my problems, especially since they don't want to show if they're doing things or not. But yeah, eventually they clear up that stuff. I don't know why they decide to format it the way they do.
Right.
It's just it makes me. It's one of those moments where it makes you feel like they're treating you like you shouldn't see this stuff. Like they don't want to show the female character get touched by the male character because, again, merchandise tanks when you do that. I guess I don't know. It's weird, but it didn't save the show for me. I still find it a charming show. I don't think it's a... It's the best way to put this. It's charming, it's cute, but it lacks substance. Like, it's just not interesting. There's no clever writing to the comedy. It doesn't evolve the formula of the comedy well enough. It's just fluff. Like, overall, it's just a very muted flavor fluff. Like, the texture's there, it's cute, but it has no volume to it. Like, it doesn't keep my attention. I get bored very quickly. It doesn't evolve the formula. It's just there. It's just like watching a random normal couple. Like, every now and then they do something cute, but for the most part, you're just like, yeah, it's cute, but I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah. It's
can I go home now?
as far as a rom-com,
You guys are cute, but can I go home?
It's cute. As a rom-com, it's cute. As a comedy, it's not that funny.
Not funny.
As a romance, it's not that romantic.
It's not deep.
It just is what it is, and it's like, okay, so well, what other kinds of things are they kind of doing similar? Well, teasing girl,
Apparently looking horrific to Chris.
Yeah, it is doing that in spades. Had that down pat. No, as a
it's like the cast scrolls and it said, "Did we offend you, Chris?" Yes.
As a teasing girl,
it's got the
not...
cute little shots with Ren going, "Ma," and then it just has a little text on the side that says, "Pissed now, Chris?"
As a teasing girl, it's not really. It's not really getting that to that point. So, and I think that's kind of where this kind of wants to fit. It's not really a teasing girl, but it kind of fits that mold per se. But yeah, it's not amazing, but it's charming, and I kind of just enjoyed watching it because I just felt that charm.
Yeah, definitely like a substanceless charm, really. Like, it's not offensive, but at the same time, it's like, I had no drive to watch an episode. Like, I had to kind of force myself to watch it. Like, every now and then I'm going, these two are just really cute together, for sure. Like, I'm super happy for them and want them to be super happy if they're in a relationship. Again, I don't know. Think they are. They definitely getting close. I mean, he broke the barrier by going to her house at some point. I was going, man, I don't see a ring on that finger yet. This is they might get arrested. I'm surprised this is allowed on television. And the key thing here is he went to her house and she was not like paralyzed in sickness.
Right.
You're allowed to go to the opposite sex's house when they're cold. They have a cold and it's making them unable to move their bodies. But you're not allowed to go there just for fireworks.
No, they can go if they're studying in a group.
True. But the mom has to be home so she can walk in on them.
So she can walk in with
she
tea.
can walk in with and make and walk in with tea at the most inopportune time and have the wrong impression. I'll come back later. No, Mom, that's not what's going on. Cut scene so you don't see what happened. Let's do one more, I think. Do one more, you think?
Sure.
Let's do I Parry Everything. I Parry Everything. You're checking your little watch again, huh? I was gonna surprise you. Did you watch I Parry Everything?
Yes, I did.
So I need to update your page here too. Chris needs Parry Everything. I don't know why I'm saying everything. I'm getting a massive kick out of it for some reason. There you go. The Japanese title, I Parry Everything, streamed on High Dive, ran for 12 episodes, done by Studio OLM, based on a light novel. Genres are action, adventure, fantasy. And this one opens up with Noor. Noor is a boy who lives with his parents out in the middle of nowhere in this forest, and at some point his father died, and then shortly later he was taking care of his mother who was deathly ill. At some point she passed away, and then he was left all alone. At that point he decided to go out and do his longtime dream. Ever since his father read stories to him about adventurers, he dreamed of one day becoming an adventurer. So he decided to lock up his house, leave a bunch of food for all of his animals there, farm animals, and head out to the nearby city where he went to the Adventure Guild and asked to become an adventurer. And they said, yeah, you can't become an adventurer until you gain a certain amount of skills or whatever. Go to the training halls and see if one of them can teach you how to become, one of those classes. And if it turns out you get that class, you can come back here and I'll sign you up to be an adventurer. So at that point, he decides to go to each one of these different training halls and trains under them for several months, trying to gain an ability to become one of them. He went to an archery place, went to a mage place, went to a healer's place, went to each one of them, and every single one of them, he gained nothing from them. Goes back to the Adventure Guild and says, it was months and months later, year later at this point, goes in there and says, yeah, I didn't gain anything. All I have is the ability to parry. And he's like, no, I can't do that. I can't become you an adventurer. So Nora at that point decides to go back home and go back to his little house. And at that point, he doesn't want to give up. So he starts to train for years on end. We're talking 10 years, training his parry ability, getting stronger, hoping that one day he'll eventually gain a different skill. Cut forward, I think he's 30 at this point, 25 or 30 at this point. He's an adult. He hasn't really gained anything, but he goes back to the guild again, wants to become an adventurer again. They still won't do it, but they allow him to do really low level. He does give him a membership, but it's like E or something like that,
F,
so that he could just do
I think it was F or something.
Yeah, just the ability to basically do random around the town stuff, cleaning gutters and stuff like that. So he's out there with a sword, scraping stuff out of the gutters and whatnot. Eventually, he ends up delivering some stuff and goes near this one dungeon. He hears somebody screaming from within the dungeon. He rushes in there, ends up finding Lynn, who is a princess of the kingdom, and her people are being attacked by this minotaur thing that's gone berserk. He ends up using his parry ability to basically kill the minotaur because he parries into it and kills it. Saves the princess. They want to, give him something to thank him, but he runs off. She ends up finding him later, drags him back off to her place where he meets the lord of the land, where that guy is really badly wants to thank him for saving his daughter. Ends up giving him this really ancient legendary sword that he has hung up on the next to the throne, and it's this massive sword. And immediately Nora thinks, man, the size of that blade's perfect for digging out those gutters. All I could think about is how he's going to use it to dig out gutters. But what precedes this is basically him getting dragged into different situations. Lynn really badly wants him to be his master, or her master, and teach her everything that he knows. There's indication here that she acknowledges that there's a sign within him that he thinks he's incredibly weak, but based on what he's showing her, him using this little fireball ability, his potential is insane. It's limitless. He just doesn't know it. And so there is this little element of how he's extremely overpowered, but he doesn't seem to know it. And nobody seems to have been able to tap into his potential, so they can never pass him to whatever, trade skill that he was trying to apply to. But everybody acknowledges that he's extremely powerful, and it's through his own efforts, of pushing himself. It all eventually leads to this other kingdom wanting access to the dungeon they have, and their kingdom of advancing technologies, whereas this kingdom doesn't like the technologies they're advancing into because there's too much unknown within them, there's too much taboo within them. They eventually attack them, and Nor has to save everybody. So, what do you think? Thoughts?
I liked
Review.
I genuinely enjoyed this show. I found myself I did fall behind on this one. Andrew kind of pushed me to get going on this one.
I literally just got caught up 2 days ago, so I can't blame you too much. But I did acknowledge at some point, I'm like, this is actually good. Like, I wasn't too favorable in the first impressions because I was like, he's kind of annoying at first. But I'm glad he kind of gets out of that. Because early on, he's very much so, I'm super weak. I could never do this. I'm super weak. And everybody's going, dude, no, you're not weak. You're insanely overpowered. No, I'm super weak. It was annoying at first.
Well, I love the way that Lin would turn things that he would say into just kind of these weird, like, heroic things. Like, what would Noru say? And then she turns around to the other characters. They're just goblins.
I did get a kick out of that. It was like later on, like she did that a lot, like with the whole situation with them fleeing the kingdom and everything. And she would say something like, what was it? It was basically implying the idea that he wanted to run away, but she's like, oh, of course he wants to make sure that we get there really quickly. And he's like, wait, no, what are you talking about? Obviously, Senpai wants to, or Shisho wants to tackle this issue like right now, right? And he's like, no, I was wanting to leave. I don't know what she's talking about. He's like, I don't want to have anything to do with the situation. I want to get the hell out of here. He kind of shifts from being like the oblivious idiot that constantly downplays his abilities to more of like
just a dense.
I don't want to say dense. He's pure. Like he's just.
I guess
he's the country bumpkin basically. Yeah. He's the country bumpkin. Like that whole situation with the dragon and Relo. That was like the most dorky little situation there where. And it turns into like super heartfelt because you have Rolo, who is this demi-human, very discriminated against. Everybody hates demi-humans, and she's been locked up in a cage her entire life, beat to death over and over again, and then finally gets the moment to where you're going to be promised to be free if you drag this dragon into their kingdom and poison everybody. Suddenly, that whole plan gets shattered. She nearly dies. He saves her. And immediately the response is, so are you okay? And he's absorbing the poison that she's getting. Like he's taking the poison from her so that she doesn't die. And then eventually once the whole situation's over, he immediately turns and says, are you okay? And she's literally going, I just came here with something to kill y'all. And they promised me I'd be alive. But it quickly turns into, well, where are you from? I'm a demi-human. Wait, that doesn't scare you that I'm a demi-human? And then you have Lin and Innes over here and they're going, holy crap, get away from her. It's a demi-human. Why? Because it's demi-human. What does that mean? What's the matter? Like, he's going to completely not have any, like, these preconceived notions that everybody has. So there is an innocence there that almost applies to the purity of the moment of this girl has nothing to do with any of this stuff. And the only way they would have seen past that is having him there as the completely oblivious person. Because he doesn't have these... It's the prejudice. They all have prejudice. He doesn't. Why? Because he's been in the forest his entire life. He doesn't understand what these prejudices you guys have. If he wasn't there, Innes would probably kill her right off the bat. That would be what would be expected of her in order to save Lin. But since he's there, he's able to create that kind of, okay, reset the moment. Let's think about this for 2 seconds. Okay, makes sense. Obviously, she's not involved. So there is like a purity does bring a nicety there. I say that, but then the whole situation in the throne room in the later parts of the series was stupid. It was so stupid.
He just shouldn't be beating on an old man.
You're doing it, dude. He's just chucking them around the room. Have a grenade. Wait, throws him into the wall. You shouldn't throw that at an old man. Dude, you're doing worse. Chucks another grenade, runs over there, throws him against the other wall. It was so stupid. I'm sorry. That was stupid. Anyways. Yeah, on the top of the dragon, Lin is constantly thinking that Nor's over there, like, dissatisfied with the situation. He's literally just passed out because he doesn't like heights. Yeah, I love them. There is a misconceptions there that are just kind of dorky, but visually, very impressed by this show. I don't know why. I don't know why I wasn't expecting anything from it. Now, I know that the previews looked good. Like the previews we got was mostly him like doing all the deliveries, and so you have this like muscled up guy and he's running around with stuff all the time, and it looked really good. But I was kind of half expecting that the show past that first 2 episodes is just gonna be like, here comes the animation's gonna tank at this point, right? Even the dragon wasn't always CGI. Can we agree? The dragon wasn't always CGI. It was CGI every now and then, but it wasn't always CGI. I thought it looked good. And yes, there's a part of it that's like, I guess how much detail is put into characters like Nor. He's very buffy, very big type of character, and they do really good with his kind of proportions. I thought Lin looked a little off at times, especially early on. She looked a bit simple while he looked very detailed. But I thought overall I was very impressed. Like the fight with the assassin dude, Zato. Zato's fight with him, and even the dragon before him, I thought was really good looking. Like I was very impressed. Like again, I wasn't really expecting much visually from the show, and I think they did a really good job to keep it together.
I generally didn't find anything that specifically offended me. So.
It didn't offend you.
No. I mean,
It's not Pseudo Harem.
There's only like 2 shows that specifically Pseudo Harem being one of them. There's another show that I can't think of off the top of my head.
Fatal Frame, Failure Frame. That one offended me.
I didn't watch that one.
Failure Frame offended me. The Demon Lord one is a human. I only watched the very beginning of that one, and that one offended me.
There was I think there was a couple of garbage scenes in there, but I don't think that was
the CGI monsters, really. That's Failure Frame. The CGI monsters were horrible, and the CGI people were horrible too. Let's be honest. CGI elf girl all the time. But no, I like the style of it. I like the character designs for the most part. I think it just visually looked good. Ines looked really good as well. A lot of fights she had in it. I do like. There's a side of me that really likes the skills in this show as well. Like they had a lot of buffer classes, and I always like whenever shows have like buff classes, defense classes, offensive classes, healer classes. Ines was kind of like her special ability was to create like these plates that she used for defenses, but then at some point it kind of shows where she can use it for offense as well. Creating the barrier, but at the same time throwing them as projectiles or turning them into a sword or whatever was really cool. Lin was like massively overpowered. I love how between Nor and Lin, it's always kind of using them two together in order to get him transported around, which involves him parrying on his back her wind attack. And so like at some point even points out that like his memories of the whole situation was, yeah, that we were traveling, we ran into that dragon, and then Lin shot me off somewhere. I fought a dragon, and then Lin shot me somewhere again. There was Lin shot me again. It's just like his memories are clouded with all these situations where Lin launches him. And it was so funny because we were getting ready for this recording, and I went to go get some pictures for our outline. And I noticed they changed the key art to literally this shot with Nor being shot up towards the key art with Lin behind him. They literally have the key art is Lin shooting Nor somewhere with magic. I loved it. I loved her launching him around places. It was kind of a cute little gimmick they kind of created between the two of them. But no, my thoughts on this show, like I said before, visually, I thought it looked really, really good. It's not like not football levels, but I think for a show like this, I had expectations of it being like a throwaway show, garbage animation, but it kept it together and it had a lot of really good animation points. And again, the designs and the characters are great, very unique. I like the concept of the show, and that was kind of the thing that drew me to it early on, is the idea of the nobody guy. How can they use this kind of gimmick of him being able to parry everything as a concept of an entire show? It's a very popular kind of genre concept within the fantasy world setting of shows. It's typically Sekai characters that it does this with, where they go into another world and they have a useless ability, and then they find out some OP way of using it. That's typically how it goes. So my question mark was going to be how much they rely on that, or if they're going to evolve it in some way. And they kind of evolve it in a way that it seems like he seems like a jack of all trades, and he just only has a parry skill. It seems like he has aptitudes for everything. It just doesn't seem like he has a specific skill or uniqueness in that. So he just assumes that he can't do anything because he doesn't have those skills. But he does have magic. He can't carry a bow because he breaks them. He's super fast. He has a low rank healing ability but doesn't have an established blessing, so that makes it very unique in itself. There, he's got like uniqueness in everything. He just doesn't seem to have the skills in them. So it's how he applies all those, I guess, in his abilities is what kind of works out for him. He's able to move really quickly because he has quick speeds. He's able to heal himself because he has a healing ability. His experiences in living alone and being bit by snakes and eating poisonous stuff leads him to be very immune to poisons and stuff, like all that kind of stuff. It's his own life experiences and his hard work really is what makes him really OP, and I kind of like that. I guess the only thing that this series really doesn't do well for me is, yes, early on I hated his constantly downplaying. Oh, don't think me, I didn't do anything. Oh, I'm not strong, I'm super weak. Oh my gosh, he must have been holding back because I'm super weak. It got really annoying very quickly. He just had no self-confidence, which makes sense because everybody tells him that he doesn't have anything. But once it got past that, Lynn, wants him to become her master and teach her and all that kind of stuff. Once it gets past all that stuff and finally Lynn starts hanging out with him more and they start to go out, do adventures together, that's where it kind of started picking up for me. Now, I will admit, besides kind of the earlier parts of it, I wasn't really too interested in like the two kingdoms in conflict and the other kingdom wanting to get into their dungeons and wanting to attack them and everything. But it gave, I guess, a good enough excuse to have a massive conflict that Nora gets involved with. But it wasn't like I was super interested in that whole conflict. I just liked watching Nora and how he kind of figured out the situation. And yes, Parry a massive dragon. In the end, I was very pleasantly surprised how much I enjoyed this show. It's probably like a solid 7 for me. Like, and that's really saying something for a show like this. I think this show is not like doing anything amazing, but it still manages to kind of creep up above that 6 to like a 7 for me, just because it's just enjoyable characters. Like, Nora is a cool guy. He's like like, if I'm gonna watch a show and watch some dumb idiot get all the girls, it's a Nora character. Like, he's just kind of a good dude.
No,
good hardworking dude.
No, I'm not. I'm gonna tell you to move it down to a 6, because if you don't remember,
there wasn't enough Miyane. That's true. There wasn't enough Miyane.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But there's this big problem when he was fighting the Minotaur. Okay, the Minotaur had his axe come down, and he was going to parry it, and he swiped it and said parry, and the axe, which was supposed to go back, flipped sideways randomly in the mid-air and chopped off its head.
That's how much velocity created, is that it chopped off his head when it was sideways.
No, it turned sideways.
Right.
It was this way, and then it turned sideways and cut off his head. It's not physically possible except for here. So I am offended by that.
That's how good of a parry he is.
I'm offended by it.
That's how good of a parry he is.
So we have to lower it from a 7 to a 6.
No, you never rate things. Don't be getting up in my ratings. Well, I don't want to rate things. So I'm going to get on to Andrew's ratings. Well, what's your rating? Your rating's a 6?
No, I was offended by that. So you have to fix your rating for me.
No. No. Good show, though. I did thoroughly enjoy it, so. Besides Chris's random desire to get upset about visuals for once. Like, typically I'm the one that's nitpicking about visuals, and Chris is like, it's all right. And now today he's complaining about Pseudo Harem and axes.
And axes. That axe offended me.
Not the CGI dragon.
No, I didn't care about this CGI dragon.
It's the axe.
It was the axe. The axe offended me.
Stupid axe. He was like, I was trying to figure out what that happened. Like a couple weeks ago. That was like last week. I get a text from Chris and he's like, the axe. It's like, Chris, it's like 2 a.m. And I go back to bed and like 3:30 I wake up. Another text. I can't stop thinking about that axe. Like, Chris, go to bed. He's waking up randomly going, axe! Oh gosh. His dog's like panicking. Don't worry, dog. It's okay. It's okay, dog. It's that axe. Just traumatized by that freaking axe. Get over it, Chris. Anyways, there you go. That's it. That is I Parry Everything. Very, very solid show. And I guess what we'll cover for the day. What else we have left? We did good. We just have Dalian Bloom, the strongest mage, is a human in the Demon Lord's army, and Yatagarasu, which is fine. I kind of want to let Yatagarasu I kind of want to stew on that for a little bit. It's kind of one of those shows where it did some crazy stuff at the end, and I kind of want to think on it. I'm just super mad that the show didn't get another season announcement, but at least Spice and Wolf did. We can cover Spice Wolf next week, though.
No.
You can't cover for 16 episodes or something in one
I
week.
have Oshinoko that I have to catch up on. I have Monogatari to catch up on. I'm not going to be able to catch up on all three.
Yeah, Shiko week it ends this week too.
And that one has the most episodes out of the three of them. I'll be lucky if I can catch up on the other two.
What else will we be covering? We will do AOTY. We will do Historia.
I can do Astoria.
Spice and Wolf.
No.
I'm saying overall. Train to Death.
No.
What was Train to Death?
Probably the old man that
the Osan
had
one.
the middle.
Yeah, I didn't watch that. Yeah, definitely No Longer Allowed in Another World, which is really good.
Yeah. I can do that one.
Magical Girl and the Evil Lieutenant, which ends this week.
I can do that.
Oshinoko.
No.
Demon Lord Army as a human.
Yes.
Sengoku Yoko.
No.
I'm just saying the shows. You don't have to say
I'm answering your question. It's on record.
Because
everything's on record.
Because we're gonna have the same conversation every single week.
Yeah, but now you can just go back to the end of this.
Let's see what else. Failure Frame,
No.
Garbo. But we're gonna talk about it. Nothing else on that day. Slimy Sekai, obviously. Near season 2. Love
Yes, no.
2.5 dimensional is going to be a 2 course. So you don't have to worry about that. Dungeon People.
No.
Quality Assurance into the World.
No.
Monogatari series. Elusive
1, 2, but no.
Samurai. Sakuna, Rice and Ruin.
No.
Wife Has No Emotions. Nobody's
Yes.
Way Up. Why Nobody Remembers. I'm not going to do Nobody Remembers Me.
No.
And then Too Many Losing Heroines and Elf.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's all of the shows that we'll be covering. So we'll probably do at least 3-parter. I think it'll work out in a 3-parter, but we'll see. That's all we're going to cover for the day. Hope you guys enjoyed this list of summer 2024 anime season reviews, and hope you guys are joining us for next week for that. Yeah, I guess we technically won't be starting the fall season until next week too, so I can't really say anything about that yet. So there you go. That's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. As usual, at tacospirit.com is where you can go for all of our links, social media links, ways to get a hold of us, ways to support us, all that good stuff. We definitely appreciate everybody that supports the channel. And until next time, you'll take care.
Os.